What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome back. Welcome back to me, Tuesday's show. Missed yesterday. Spent the last, 36 of the last 48 hours just sneezing my face off, dying of allergies. For some reason, just got on top of me. Was out of it yesterday. Did not feel like doing a show at all yesterday. Apologies for missing that one. Wayne Stark in the chat saying, so glad he put that notification to give me time to be free to listen. I've been doing bad since he hasn't been around. I missed one show. It was one show. We were there on Friday, right? Thursday, Friday last week. I know there have been a couple spots recently that we have had days off beginning of last week and so on. But, good to be here. Feeling much, much better today. No sneezing, no sniffling. Knock on wood, that continues. And we've got a big slate to talk about. 12 games on board. Lot to go through. Really deep slate across the board. There's really good pitching options. There's very solid hitting options. Definitely some launching pad looking spots late in the evening. So a lot to get through. Say hi to everybody though. Cujo's here. Andy GPS. Wayne Stark. Meech is here. Clintwood. Pirates baseball. What's going on, guys? Appreciate everybody coming out. It's set to be a long one, I would expect. We'll get through it as efficiently as we can. Starting things off, let's remind everybody the home run picks contest is ongoing. I owe you guys 1 day of catching up on the scoreboard, I believe. Last one was the 24th. We had a show 25th and the 26th then, it looks like. So it looks like I owed you guys 2 days on the scoreboard. If anybody got it right, Loyalty Chiz or Cujo, if either of you guys got 2 picks right on those days, you've won the contest. Congratulations. We'll catch that up for tomorrow. But we'll keep it open for now. First to 5 correct picks wins. Got to leave it in a comment after the show. Everybody here already knows what's going on. So make sure you come back after the show, leave a comment, enter the home run picks contest. But what I wanted to pull up there real quick was just the stacks board again for today. There is a massive amount of upside in some of those late games. The Coors game is popping like crazy again. The Cubs game is popping up like crazy again. The Dodgers, the Athletics are standing out significantly. Tampa Bay looking like an interesting FanDuel team, less so on DK with that 12th ranking by value. Just kind of puts them effective, good run creation team. Not a bad option by any stretch, but doesn't stand out quite as much as it does on FanDuel. But just a really interesting board with how some of the values are set. Excuse me. How some of the values are set. How some of the home run matchups measure out. Not necessarily the best home run upside, but there's a lot of same once you start talking about, 10th, 14th versus 8th, 7th, 5th. There's only so much difference between those spots. But I thought that was a really interesting way to get the board started. And you can see some kind of even distribution as usual with the best pitchers of the day matched up against the worst stacks down toward the bottom. But you'll note that puts the Yankees next to last. It's going to be a diminished version of the Yankees lineup tonight in multiple ways. No Cody Bellinger tonight. Jazz Chisholm not expected to play. He's in the concussion protocol after a collision in the outfield. Jason Dominguez, we'll see. So really diminished version of the Yankees lineup for Tarek Skubal to potentially go out there and carve up. You can see where Detroit is on the other side of that game. They're showing a little bit more value than the Yanks at least. But Brian Wu, Nolan McClain, Joe Ryan, Jose Soriano, Kevin Gausman. If Brandon Sprout pitches like he did last time, then you've got something on your hands. Conley Early has been pitching mostly pretty well throughout the season. A lot of depth there, and then some usable options through the mid-board. So it's a really, really interesting slate. Talk about some of the run spots. Meech asks, are the Marlins still free on FanDuel today? How do they measure out for value? 9th by value? So good enough. 17th by value on DraftKings. Big difference there. So, yeah, we'll take a look at those players and some of those prices, in kind of a while. Hate to disappoint, but that game's a little ways down the board. Right there. But we'll get to it when we get to it. Yeah, I don't love chasing those, good weather in Wrigley situations where everybody gets popular and, you're just kind of riding the conditions with everybody, especially with an up and down offense. But I do like that Chicago offense. They're much better on paper than they've been in real life. But again, it's a difficult spot to ignore tonight at a 6.33 implied total. The Pods on the other side, the worst offense in baseball, is pulling a fourth ranked 5.30. But there are ways around both of those teams. If you're like me, you don't just love playing the conditions. You've got more, favorable conditions with Coors on the board. Gettable spot on either side. Not that Coors is going to be unpopular, but that's another 11-run game. The Cubbies game earlier in the day was pulling in at 11.5. We get the Dodgers and the Athletics squaring off at the end of the night in Sutter in an 11-run game with gettable pitching on the board, on the table on both sides, premium power on both sides. Dodgers showing a ton of upside as the top-ranked team basically across the board. Second by value on DraftKings, second by Vegas total technically, with the Cubbies slightly ahead. But that's another major, major spot. They, again, will be popular. It's no secret. But at least it's going to distribute some shares around. It's not going to all be loaded into the Cubs. It's not going to all be loaded into the Marlins, the Rockies. You'll have some spread among some really high-quality spots. And then you've got like the Brewers hiding there at a 5.10. The Braves at 4.89. The Red Sox at 4.77. It's not like there's not spots to go. The Giants and the Diamondbacks both in the mid-fours. Plenty of upside for offense across this slate. So it's not just about those spots. It's just that's a standout game, that's a standout game, and that's a standout game. And again, a fairly significant late night West Coast hammer here. But starting up at the top of the board, a fantastic pitching matchup. It's got the Tigers and the Yankees both in the 3.5 range. Tarek Skubal against Cam Schlittler, just two of the best in the business. Skubal hasn't been perfect since getting back on the mound, but a remarkable recovery from elbow injury. I think we'll give him the benefit of the doubt here, especially against the diminished Yankees lineup with Vegas treating it the way it is. Schlittler's just been tremendous all season long. No reason not to go to him against the heavy strikeout Tigers. Nolan McLean going for the Mets up against those pesky Blue Jays. That could give him issues just, hitting absolute value relative to price across, the top of the pitching board. But very talented kid. Kevin Gausman going the other way against the gettable Mets. But the Mets maybe a little bit of under the surface upside despite a sub-4 total. There are some talented bats with Frankie Lindor and Juan Soto back in that lineup together at last. So a better Mets team than it's been most of the season. The Nationals and the Red Sox. Nats showing a little bit of power. Home run pick of the day. A little bit of an oddball coming out of the Nats. They're going up against Connolly early. I do like early on the mound quite a bit, but that Nationals team's been really good. They've got some good bats against lefties. Their two big lefties are good against left-handed pitching for the most part. 4.32 implied total. Not nothing for them. And then Kate Cavalli on the mound has had some very good starts throughout the year. 7 home runs allowed over 17 starts, 83 and a third to 374 hitters. Pretty good home run ratio. So kid's good at limiting power upside. It wouldn't shock me if he checked the Red Sox down, but that 4.78 implied total that they're pulling against with a little bit of power available in that lineup is somewhat appealing. We've seen, though, as you go down that lineup, it does get a little bit dicey down toward the bottom. It's a short lineup up toward the top. The Cards and the Braves, I think the Cards are interesting on their side of that one, but Martin Perez has been pretty good on the mound throughout the season. Lefty Matthew Liberatore on the mound for the Cards, pushing plenty of upside toward the Braves at that 4.89 implied total. I think they would probably not get up to the popularity that one might otherwise expect. Shorter slate, like a standard, like a 8-game slate from, let's say you just lop those off. In other words. That would be, still some significant spots in that mix. But that game's not going to get to the raw popularity that it should against Liberatore with the upside that's in that Braves lineup. So that's a really interesting spot to explore some connections. Just how do they fit together with a team like, say the Rockies on the other side of the Coors game? How do they fit together with the A's on the other side of that late game? But the Cards are not all that much less interesting. Again, Perez pitching mostly over his head. 3.0 ERA, but a 3.95 xFIP. Lefty, you could throw some of those quality bats from the Cards lineup against them. It wouldn't shock me if they had a decent day. They're not exactly crashing the top of the slate, but a decent day. Reds, similar kind of a story. Brendan Sproat, one upside game where he struck out 10, allowed one hit over 6 shutout innings against this Reds team the last time out in Cincinnati. But there's no lock to do that coming back again. He's pitched to a 5.43 ERA, but a 4.16 xFIP under the surface. He struck out 73 in 69 innings on the season. So there's a lot of talent there. There's plenty of potential to go out and do that again. But it's certainly no lock, and he's given up some power through the year. And the Reds have plenty of that to spare. Brewers just showing up with a 5.10 implied total against Rhett Lauder. That's a very gettable spot for them. Plenty of upside to go into that highly talented offense. The Rays, I failed to mention them in that rundown of other high-quality teams, but going up against lefty Noah Cameron, there's plenty of power, plenty of upside there. Junior Caminero looks fantastic today. Tremendous spot to be considering some Rays. I wouldn't mind getting stacks of, say, the Rays and the Braves together. And that would definitely be when we talk about just, you don't have to just go to purely low-owned guys. You could take the best of the Braves, the best of the Rays, put them together, and be getting to significantly offset popularity by comparison to the other, standout obvious spots. And they're not that diminished compared to those spots. On the Royals side, not a bad total there either. 4.67 implied. They're going up against Griffin Jax, who he's been going 5 innings exactly in 4 straight starts now. Basically stretched out to be a starter. 7 strikeouts with 2 walks. 2 unearned runs allowed on 5 hits over 5 innings against the Royals the last time out. Gets to face them again here. Potential to do that again, but kind of like we said about Sproat, no lock to do that again. Padres at the Cubbies just looks like bats on both sides of that one. JP Sears, who surprised, honestly, last time out after really struggling through the minors. 5 2/3 against Atlanta. 2 earned runs, did allow a homer, struck out 5, walked 2, and came away with the win. Was pretty solid. Would be surprising if he defies the conditions here, does that again. And then the Cubbies are throwing Matthew Boyd into the mix against the low-end Padres, but they're pulling a 5.30 implied total against him. Don't see a ton of reason to use Matthew Boyd on the mound today in those circumstances. Joe Ryan against Mike Burrows. Burrows mostly struggling throughout the year. Was effective last time out. 6 innings of 2 hit, 1 run ball. Give up a solo homer, 3 strikeouts and a walk. Isn't exactly scoring DFS points, but at least it's an effective day of limiting runs, and we'll take it for some of the prices that Burrows comes in at. Could do that to the Twins. It's a 4.35, middling kind of a total, or mid-board for this slate anyway. The Astros, 4.23 implied going up against Ryan, showing a little bit of power upside. As always, Ryan has the potential to give up the long ball, but has mostly pitched well throughout the season. Last time out, 4 earned runs against the Dodgers. A little bit bumpy there, but not a tragic start. Struck out 9, so he clawed back some of those points over his 6 innings. Plenty effective to beat this Astros team, but they could be usable going back the other way, especially some of the high-end power bats. Marlins and the Rockies, it's Coors Field. It's self-explanatory. You do have Jody Perez on the mound for the Marlins. He's been all over the place this season. 4.41 ERA, a 4.24 xFIP. Solid for strikeouts, but too many walks, some power on the board. Last time out, just 4 2/3. Start before that, 4 innings. Limited for quality. There was a month between those starts, too. He was injured. So we're probably not getting full complete if he's pitching great at Coors Field, going 7 innings or anything like that. I think 5 innings, probably what we're looking at on a good day, and then get him out of the Coors Field situation. And he's no guarantee on the mound. Talented kid, for sure. Neutral environment, maybe. But 5.24 implied total for the Rockies. And then a 5.89 implied on the Marlins side against Tanner Gordon. Fire away with Marlins bats. Jose Soriano on the mound for the Angels going up against the Mariners. Another really solid pitching matchup. You can see the really low total at 3.03, slate low on the Angels side against Brian Wu, who's been tremendous at home this season. A little bit dicier on the road where some of his uglier numbers come from. But overall, that's just happenstance. This is just a tremendous, tremendous pitcher. And then Soriano had that fantastic start and really, really cooled off. A couple okay starts over the last few weeks, but mostly since early-ish mid-May has been pretty up and down at best. The depth hasn't exactly been there either as to usual expectation for him. So really kind of going through it. Just a 406 implied total, not exactly rocketing to the top of the board for the Mariners. The Clippers are nearing a deal to trade Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors per Shams. How about that? That was a rumor at one point. Somebody beat me to it on my text group. So the Mariners have been mostly gettable. That's a super friendly pitcher's park. Wouldn't surprise if Soriano had a really good day today, but again, has been a little bit up and down. So the Mariners. Landon Roop on the mound for the Giants going up against Brandon Pfaadt. The return of Brandon Pfaadt for Arizona. Last pitched on the third, an inning of relief. Pitched to a 5.92 ERA and a 4.62 xFIP in 3 starts, 38 innings. Roughly, 3 starts followed by a dozen, if that, relief appearances. Multiple innings that got shorter and shorter as he struggled. Gettable spot on either side. Mid-4s implied total on either side of that one. I do think Roop is a little bit better than that total might suggest. But those are usable Diamondbacks against him. Where he might limit them a little bit is in home run upside. I believe that's showing through the stacks board. He's only allowed 5 homers over 16 starts, 86 and a third this year. And then the launching pad game at the end of the night, the Dodgers against the Athletics. Justin Wroblewski trying against Jeffrey Springs. Major upside for bats in that end of the night game. Don't really see all that much upside. Between the two, I would lean toward the Dodgers pitcher, though. And we'll see that over here. I believe that's already sorted. So the showdown at the beginning of the night, there's your top 2 starters of the day. They're also very, very expensive, but monster upside in Schlittler as he's demonstrated throughout the year. The fact that he's offset that significantly by price on FanDuel, though, should have an impact on his ownership, realistically so, especially when you get options that are very, very close. There's a dip down to Joe Ryan, who's at 10-6, the next most expensive pitcher. He's facing a good Astros team that's probably better than those Angels, better than that version of the Yankees, better than Detroit. So I think it makes sense where Ryan is right around his season average. But there's upside, there's ceiling that he shares with any one of these 3 guys on a good day. Nolan McLean, I think the ceiling is slightly diminished given the low strikeout nature of the Blue Jays that's kind of showing up in those projections as well. Connolly early, just as talented as Nolan McLean. Good Washington lineup on the other side. Offset slightly from McLean by price, but probably not by ceiling. I think those guys share fairly similar ceiling. Gaussman at 91.87. Nice piece of value on either side, honestly, by comparison to some of the other guys against that Mets team. It's just they did get better with the return of some stars and some, just some ongoing sample size is going to make some of those guys a little bit better than they were at the beginning of the season when everybody's been basically struggling. But definitely a usable piece at those prices. 87 is pretty generous. 85 for early, by the way, pretty generous on DraftKings. You could put those 2 pieces together and go solid middle type pitching in a few lineups on DK. No issues with that whatsoever. Jose Soriano, no issues again. 99, 95. Talent is more than real. He's not the guy he was over those first 9 starts or whatever it was, but he's also not the guy who's kind of bumped along a little bit in more recent outings. Somewhere in between, very talented pitcher who could easily go in there and have a day against that Mariners team. If people are less enthused to go to Soriano there, I think that makes him really, really interesting by comparison with like these 4 guys. And I think he's a little bit potentially, if he's under-owned by comparison, even at a higher price, I think he's probably more interesting than those 3. And then you kind of hit this weird middle board. For one, Wroblewski, all the way down there, he's 10-1 on FanDuel. Those conditions in Sutter, it's just all working against him. Even at 8 on DraftKings, problematic, but at least there's an argument to be made at that price. 10-1 on FanDuel, I just don't see it. But back up here, healthy middle from Griffin Jax. I just wish we could get any signs of him going out for a 6th inning. That would be great. 67 on DraftKings. I think he's a more usable piece over here, but probably also draws more popularity over there. Over here, know that you're probably not getting the quality start. That is offset a little bit by price, but I don't think enough at 84. Jody, probably also not giving you the quality start, even if all goes to plan. 7,000 on DraftKings. Again, there's strikeout upside that maybe could pay that off if he manages to limit runs and go 5 and qualify for the win. But you're throwing a lot of ifs into that. Matthew Boyd in those conditions doesn't seem like a great option. 77 prices up by comparison to some of the other guys around him in safer situations. But he is facing the lowest end offense in baseball so far this season. It's just that offense comes in at a 5+. So imagine if it was a good team. 87 on FanDuel just knocks him off the board almost completely for me. Cavalli, I think, is usable. 81.66. That gets interesting. The Sox are pulling a good total against, but there's a lot of good totals on the mound. You got to take a stand somewhere. And Cavalli's had some decent outings this year, and that's a really low DK price. I think he's very in the mix for bargain bin type shares. Roop at 82, solid mid-board type option. I think he compares favorably toward, well, difficult to say really, because Early's probably a little bit better. Kevin Gausman probably a little bit better at their prices and matchup. But he's more in that conversation, I think, than he is in like the absolute bargain bin conversation of guys around him. 89 on FanDuel. Again, though, that becomes problematic, kind of like the 87 for Matthew Boyd. Those guys are going to fit into lineups, though, where you can't quite reach those guys. You'll compromise, and I think those two guys get into maybe some. And in that situation, even though he doesn't particularly look good, neither do the conditions for that game, I do lean a little bit toward Landon Roop just on the ability maybe to keep the ball in the yard more than Matthew Boyd's got going for him. JP Sears, problematic conditions all working against him, but stood out, was surprisingly good last time out. Maybe he surprises again. It's only a middling projection from the bargain bin. Mike Burrows is believable at 64. Would throw that value dart a few times. He's been all over the place this season, but there's a lot of talent there. Perez, I'd rather have St. Louis bats, but 7,200, he's in the mix. I think I'd rather pay down for Burrows, take a shot with Cavalli before I'm getting to Perez, though. Sproat, you could throw a dart at that he has another good start like he did just last week against this same team. But he's another pitcher who's just been all over the map as he finds his sea legs at the major league level. But a really good start against this same squad last week. Louder on the other side of that game is pretty much a no, with the Brewers pulling one of the better implied totals, one of the ones over 5. Talked about the Rays already against Noah Cameron. That's a capable starter, but hasn't been working deep, has been giving up a lot, and I'm leaning toward the Rays bats. I don't trust Fought in that situation. Liberatore, I'm looking to target with Braves bats. These guys are kind of obvious no's at the end of the board. Hit that lineup button. Hey, the lineup button. You guys hit the like button out there. Hopefully everything's good. Quality Soul says St. Louis looks interesting. Yeah, I think they are. I think they, maybe get a little bit done from kind of like the mid-board of ownership, the mid-board of pricing and everything. They're one of those teams that it wouldn't surprise me at all if you saw, 3 guys from that lineup in a winning lineup in combination with one of the big chalk teams. Oh, is Ingram part of that deal? Yeah, I just saw the headline. I didn't see the full deal. And LeBron apparently told the Lakers he's not coming back officially. So it sounds like LeBron to the Dubs has legs. It's going to be an interesting shaken up NBA. Should be fun. Knicks win the title and everything goes completely haywire. What can you do? Everybody's got to compete with New York now. Tigers, 3-4-7 implied. Speaking of competing with New York, Cam Schlittler on the mound. Top projected pitcher on the day, 100 innings exactly in his 17 starts, striking out 29.9, 5.1% walks. Have been utterly tremendous. Got to say, did not see this coming last year when this kid debuted in late midsummer. It was the same week as our minor league draft in the Dynasty League. And not in the first round, not in the second round, the third round, the fourth round, but in the fifth and final round. I was debating my pick. He was sitting there. He was starting that Thursday or whatever for his debut start. I did not take him. I took Dieter Fuentes. This is a good pick. Kid's going to be good. He's younger than Schlittler, succeeding in the Braves bullpen right now. But boy, I wish I had taken the guy who's turned out to be the best pitcher in baseball since that date. Or one of. Right there with Mizurowski and the very best in the game. Step down stuff-wise, I would say, from Miz. But absolutely dominant. 1.62 ERA, 2.84 xFIP, 2.91 SIERA. 24.9% strikeout minus walk. He has been fantastic. Fire away against the gettable Tigers team. 24.4% strikeout rate coming in the door. That does include a slightly skewed James Outman, but that 42.9 does come over 105 plate appearances, and Outman has historically been a very high strikeout player. So it's at least somewhat believable. If you want to just talk about the guys above that mark, though, it's 22.1, so there's a little bit of an offset. But to be fair about it, you could go like that and go to the 35. Go to the 35 from over here, which is pretty realistic. 23.6 to split the difference. Point being, plenty of strikeouts available for Cam. Confirmed version of the Yankees now. So we do get Jason Dominguez. Spencer Jones in the lineup against the lefties should be probably pretty problematic for him, and a believable 41.6% strikeout rate for him. This Yankees lineup comes in with a 25-6 on the season. Ali Sanchez, not a major league hitter at the end of the lineup. Max Schumann barely clings to major league relevance as a utility man who gets in the lineup occasionally against the lefty. Puts decent wood on the ball from time to time, as demonstrated by the 13% barrel and 47.8% hard hits over 45 plate appearances, with which he's done not all that much. He has scored some runs. He has gotten on base. You can give him credit for that. 315 ex-WOB under his 354 actual speaks to the quality of the actual player, as do his contact numbers from years past. Did spike a little bit at that 5.6% barrel rate 2 years ago, but there's no ongoing quality there, as evidenced by those pretty weak hard hit rates. Jones has immense power, the ability to steal bases, should get on base via the walk at a fair clip, especially once he starts finding some more regular, high-quality contact. Has had a ridiculous hard hit rate when he's made contact, but striking out way too much. Probably going to be victimized by Tarek Skubal, lefty-lefty here. Jose Caballero, a nice story for the season with 8 homers and 19 steals, and a nice effective piece for the Yankees, but it's a utility man. We're talking about the guy hitting 6th now. Anthony Volpe always strikes out too much. 246, 348, 342 over 132 chances, a home run, 7 stolen bases. The on-base will come down. The average will probably come down. The power has been mostly non-existent. The premium contact has been mostly non-existent this year. It comes and goes. That is not a good player. He's hitting 5th today. Top 4, if you want to live there, takes your shots at Skubal. Some of these guys just got to him the other day. He faced these Yankees just last week. He gave up 6 runs, came on 3 home runs, 2 of which were hit by Paul Goldschmidt, 1 of which was hit by Jason Dominguez. Excuse me, it was 4 earned runs on 3 home runs, not 6. 6 innings, 4 earned runs. 9 strikeouts that day. It was an otherwise pretty effective start. 6.0 ERA, but a 1.59 xFIP for the day. The start before that, he gave up 3 earned runs over 5 2/3 to the White Sox. He struck out 8 and walked 1, but he gave up 2 home runs in that game. Had a 4.76 ERA, but a 2.12 xFIP for the game. And on throughout the season. Pitching to a 3.32 ERA overall, but a 2.59 xFIP. It's rounded up here. It's not rounded up on the other page. That's funny. They come from the same source. They're both from Fangraphs, but one spot's rounding it to 260. The other one's got it at 259. Anyway, Skubal's tremendous. 10,000, 10.5. A little bit of an offset from Cam Schlittler's price on either side, and facing a greatly diminished version of the Yankees. I think he'd definitely go there, but Goldschmidt's going to be dangerous. He's been mashing against everybody, but particularly against lefties, and demonstrated a distinct ability that he can do that to Tarek Skubal in just last week's game. 14 home runs on the board for Goldie on the season. Ahmed Rosario finds success against left-handed pitching. That said, this is a different kind of lefty. Forget what Rosario did in that game, but has succeeded 3,500, 2,700 from the 2 spot in this lineup. Miscast in that role, but plenty playable there if you're determined to go Yankees. Ben Rice, just the best hitter on this team right now, with including the guys that are not including the guys that are out. 22 home runs on the board, 358 on base, 151 WRC plus. Absolutely tremendous. And then Dominguez, playable in the outfield, 34-28, but overall, just another outfielder. Despite that home run he hit against Skubal the other day, I continue to think he's overmatched in this spot. Really not proven as a full, complete hitter, as demonstrated by a 209, 253, 395 slash line across these 92 plate appearances and some up and down performance over the years. But we have seen him drive the ball at the major league level. We have seen him hit some home runs, including the one against Skubal the other day. So 4th highest priority player at worst in this lineup, and you could argue he's more important than Ahmed Rosario. On the Tigers side, if you choose to attack Schlittler, which doesn't seem like a great idea, Kevin McGonigal, high priority at 46.34, appropriately priced on FanDuel, a little bit cheap on DraftKings, I would argue. 6 home runs, 11 steals, a 397 on bases, elite, 135 WRC plus, been fantastic. Just a key piece in going to this team for all the runs he creates. Colt Keith, an effective option, 5 home runs on the board, 4 stolen bases, needs to push that on base a little bit more, find some more success on his batted balls, but ongoing ability to limit strikeouts, put the ball in play, hit it with authority. That's a great piece at 3,000, 2,500 if he's hitting up toward the top of the lineup. Riley Green's their best bat, 4,100, 3,000, great price. 9 home runs, excellent slash line, a 355 xWOBA supporting the actual 129 WRC plus. Great contact numbers that lead the team in both categories. Dylan Dingler's been one of the best catchers in baseball this season, if you haven't noticed. 19 home runs on the year. 5,200 DraftKings finally noticed, 3,500 on FanDuel they've noticed. But that's a key piece that you can go to, and you can use him in conjunction with or instead of Spencer Torkelson on FanDuel as if he's their first baseman. He's just been that high quality, and the ability to hit the ball this hard was on display throughout last season, a little bit the year before. Kerry Carpenter's gotten really cheap at 36.27. He's got 12 home runs on the board, 119 WRC plus. The 315 xWOB is concerning under the 344 actual, but it's not because contact is off. 11.1% barrel. It's slightly down from last year, significantly down from 2 years ago, but the hard hit rate is actually up. Strikeouts are back up, but he's demonstrated the ability to get them down into the lower mid-20s. So I think that's a blip. Walks are also up. There's plenty of quality there. And if you're going to this team, you want the high-impact lefties. Schlittler limiting opponents to a 6.3% barrel, a 1.52% home run, though, so not a good target for power. Torkelson, as mentioned, kind of back and forth with Dylan Dingler shares in this lineup now. 3,300, 2,900, a lot of inconsistency, but all the power in the world. 13 home runs on the board, a 13.4% barrel rate that leads the team. I misspoke before about whoever I said led in barrels. It's Torque, but a lot of zeros in your lineups from him. Zach McKinstry, Matt Vierling, mix and match type guys across infield and outfield positions for cheap prices. Neither guy particularly desirable, both well below 300 on base, 63 and 62 WRC plus. Kind of no thank yous at the bottom of the lineup. And then Outman continues to be at least somewhat intriguing for the cheap prices in the outfield. A guy who, going back several seasons now, 23-16 back in 2023 for the Dodgers, 118 WRC plus. Was really good and valuable for DFS and has just been largely hurt and out of lineups or bad and inconsistent when he does get playing time over the last few years. Played his way out of Minnesota earlier in the year. Given this version of the Yankees lineup, I'm going to give it to Skubal by a nose and then Schlittler, but it's really, really close. Projection slightly favors Cam Schlittler. And then even with that, I'll still, I think, go slightly Yankees over Tigers, even though that's completely opposite of everything. Mets, Blue Jays. Let's see if we got any more lineups in. Meech says, Goldie, 4 bombs against Scooble. I smell a home run call. Make sure to put it in the comments after the show if you want to enter it in the contest. It's not a bad pick, but not because he's hit 4 home runs against him in the past, just because he's quite good and has had a long, distinguished career of hitting home runs and is demonstrating that those skills aren't gone throughout this season, even though we kind of thought they were coming into the year. Goldie has been fully back. He's not. You give him 650 plate appearances this year, he wouldn't finish with MVP numbers. But this has been a great stretch, and that swing has been really good. Mets sub-4 implied going up against Kevin Gausman. Gausman pitching to a 4.36 ERA, but in a cleaner 3.73 xFIP, 3.70 SIERA. That's more the realistic number. Just below ace caliber, I'd say. 23.6%, strikeout 5.6%, walk nothing problematic there at all. A 12.6% swinging strike rate is dynamite and indicative of the ability to find more strikeouts any given slate or, an ongoing sense. Just like I said, though, 18% strikeout minus walk. We're looking for 20 if we're calling you an ace. It's a little bit lighter than that. A little bit of premium contact on a fly ball trajectory can lead to some home runs. 3.55 in the home run column is not bad, but it's not particularly good either. So a little bit of upside. Juan Soto, they only met above the magic number, but a little power showing around Frankie Lindor at 617, halfway to the magic number on Bo Bichette and Jared Young, who you could argue for a little bit more. Same deal with Vientos and Francisco Alvarez down toward the bottom of the lineup. So there is a little bit of back and forth power for the Mets. I do think they're more interesting with both stars back in the lineup now and Bo Bichette slowly but surely coming around for the year. That's 3 playable upside pieces. Carson Benji hasn't been bad. Jared Young is very playable with some power upside and some believable numbers and premium contact. AJ Ewing's an interesting player. We're talking about a 9-man lineup when it comes to DFS. Any one of those guys is usable. Any one of those guys is usable against Kevin Gausman. So it's neither a safe spot for Gausman, nor is it a stay away spot for the Mets. But I do think Gausman is very interesting at price relative to the top of the board. Because on any given slate, again, he can go out there, find some added strikeout upside, and compete with the very top of the board. He is that guy. Nolan McLean is probably that guy. He's striking out more than Kevin Gausman right now. He's also walking more, 9.1%. 4.03 ERA, but a nice 3.42 xFIP, 3.46 SIERA. Limiting premium contact, inducing weak and medium contact on a light trajectory at 8.9 degrees average launch. Very difficult to homer against that, given a 36.2% hard hit and only 87 miles an hour of exit velo. So he's not even allowing well-struck ground balls or well-struck line drives. This is just a talented young pitcher, but it is a low strikeout, really pesky Blue Jays team that can get to really talented pitchers and bend their days a little bit when it comes to maxing out DFS scoring. That's factored in at the 93, at the 95 on McLean's price. Makes him very usable in comparison to where Cam Schlittler's price for almost 2,000 more. But it is something to be aware of, that it does not limit the ceiling necessarily. You don't want to artificially cap any kind of number, but expect it to be shaved down a little bit beyond expectation against the average team. If you're leaning into Mets bats, again, it's all about the 3 stars. But everybody in this lineup is at least usable, which does create some flexibility as far as price, a little bit around positioning. No, that's kind of a lie. I guess, Beatty at second base, but that's naturally where you would have gone with him anyway. I'm saying that because it's third base shortstop for that back and forth already. Filling that out. So Beatty would go in at second if we're looking to make this nice and cheap. And then a Jared Young at first base. And that's a 38.80 average, 19.4 for the 5-man. And it's Soto, Bichette, Lindor, Jared Young, and Brett Beatty. Jared Young of the 13.4% barrel, 46.3% hard hit, 6 home runs and 120 plate appearances, a 334 xWOBA, a 110 WRC plus, a 206 ISO on the season. Nice cheap option at first. Fits in the outfield as well on FanDuel, by the way. Brett Beatty, lackluster hard hit rate, but 8.2% barrel is not nothing. It's down pretty hard from last year's excellent 12.8 and 46.7. And the output has been way down. 208, 295, my eye skipped because the cursor was up there. 295, 290, a 71 WRC plus. Bad numbers through weighted on base. 3 homers, 3 steals. But he had 18 home runs in 432 chances last year on all that premium contact. You take a shot with that guy on any given slate to help cheapen up a lineup. It's a lefty with cheap middle infield eligibility. If you wanted to pivot from that and go for 600 more and go to Frankie Alvarez, no argument. 17.1% barrel on the season this year. 8 home runs, a solid slash line, and 196 chances. Strikeouts continuing to trend downward. It's a very good option at catcher. You wish he was hitting, say, where like AJ Ewing is in this lineup, or Mark Vientos maybe. But it's a quality piece. What he's not really is like a wraparound in the sense that he's unlikely to get on base and set the table for the guys up top. But clearing the bases of some of those mid lineup options easily on the table. Ewing for 35. Solid slash line so far. 275, 363, 416, a 123 WRC plus. Dude's been out there creating runs, the occasional home run, stolen bases. This is him basically exactly as advertised. He's still only 35 on DraftKings, 29 on FanDuel. Those are nice, cheap prices. This kid with a lot of upside, slate to slate. Benji at the top of the lineup, getting on at a 317 clip. It's okay. It's not exactly what you would want in the leadoff role. I think there's a very strong argument to be made for flipping AJ Ewing and Carson Benji in these roles, given how each is performing. But a 343 xWOBA says that Benji's underperforming with this output. He's also hit 9 home runs, stolen 11 bags. That's a good player. 41.9% hard hit, 8.1% barrel. Again, good, not great. But plenty of potential to grow in 4,000, 3,000. A little bit better than just another outfielder when he's hitting ahead of Juan Soto, Bo Bichette, Frankie Lindor. Bichette's up to 251, 296, 383. Still a very solid 333 xWOBA down there to target. Come here. Since the start of June, Bichette 324, 345, 552, 5 home runs, 16 runs, 18 ribbies. No stolen bases. A 333 xWOBA under a 380 actual. So the xWOBA right in line with where it is for the season. And he's on the strong side of that. 146 WRC plus over the last month. So really a strong representative turnaround of who the player just is. So very solid option. And Frankie Lindor getting back in the mix. 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, and 122 chances. Just hope for health the rest of the way. On the Blue Jays side, George Springer bumping his way along for the year. 8 home runs, 6 stolen bases. Any signs of life out of Springer? How about since the 14th? Well, that's like 2 weeks, let's say. 283, 339, 453 with a 120 WRC plus, a pair of home runs, 8 runs, 5 ribbies, 3 stolen bases. Those are signs of life. And another week to that, or another 2 weeks to that, rather. Bring it back to the beginning of June, and it's 238, 343, 405. Still a 112 WRC plus, 3 homers, 3 steals, 13 runs, 7 ribbies. So he's been at least getting on base, driving the ball a little bit more effectively over about a month. And honestly, if you bring that back a little bit even further to like, I clicked on May 18th. I think that's probably a good spot to do it. Yeah, you bring it back to like May 18th, 246, 335, 435. a 116 WRC plus, 324 xWOBA with a 339 actual, so mostly on the line. Striking out 20%, walking 10.6, 6 home runs, 20 runs, 13 ribbies, 5 steals. It's just a more effective player than maybe he looks like for the season-long line. And that's going on, again, a month or 2 months, essentially, of being more like George Springer. The average is down and may stay down, but the on-base, the run creation has been there. He's been swiping some bases and been hitting some home runs. So he's much more on the board maybe than the 35-29 pricing might suggest. Nathan Luke's at 26-25 has been getting on base all year, 355 on base. Comes with a 303 xWOBA under that 347 actual, so something to be aware of there. Doesn't really hit the ball hard, but puts a lot of balls in play and is finding success right now. So as a piece for correlated scoring between Springer and Vladdy Guerrero, sure, you can use him. He should not be hitting second under any circumstances, but there he is. Vladdy's a superstar, 4,500, 3,000. We're still arguing about the output for his home runs and where we would expect him to be versus where he is, but he's getting on at a 347 clip, has a 347 xWOBA under the surface, has been hitting the ball squarely, but not like he usually does, which is where a lot of the dip in power output comes from. But the strikeouts are still at 10.8%. The walks are at 10.2%. You're talking about so much bat on ball that the consistency is going to come roaring back at some point. 95 WRC plus is obviously very disappointing on the year. Sean Keys at 2,300. Keys checking in with 21 home runs in the minor leagues this year. 14 of those came as a 23-year-old at AA, and 7 of them came in 77 plate appearances as a 23-year-old at AAA. Slashing 284, 409, 619 with a 164 WRC plus, walking 13.6% of the time. The kid is just turned 23, actually, so a young 23. Looking at some of the historic traditional scouting stuff, kind of more mid-range prospect, low-grade hit tool with only medium-grade power. Obviously, he's demonstrated a ton of power so far this year and wasn't particularly advanced age-wise for those levels, so just might be breaking out and defying those traditional scouting marks, but just something to be aware of there. Stacking up like with the Fangraphs value with just a 40, which is below average, ranked 14th organizationally in their model. So again, just something to be aware of, but he's been killing it this year. Last season in AA, 209 plate appearances, 14 home runs, 6 steals, solid slash line, very much in line with this year's performance. In high A as a 22-year-old in 2025, oh, excuse me, that was this year's 2026. I'm sorry. It's split, AA, AAA. Ignore what I just said about those AA plate appearances. That's this year. I mean, don't ignore them. They're very good. Last year was all in high A as a 22-year-old, 2025. 19 home runs, 8 stolen bases, 217, 365, 408. So pieces and parts of what we're seeing this year. But has obviously built a lot on top of that. Is now in the show. Very nice price. Hitting cleanup in this lineup. Could give you a little bit of upside if you're just putting the top 4 together there. It gets real cheap. And then, honestly, it probably would just be Alejandro Kirk if I'm doing that on DraftKings. That's $31.60 a piece, $15.8 total for the 5-man. That is pretty damn cheap. Alejandro Kirk is worth it at $3,200. Having a bad 65 plate appearances, but does have 2 knocks on the board at least. 4% barrel and 34% hard hit. But look where his hard hit and barrel rates have been in years past. High quality last year, medium grade before that. Always been low strikeout, upper medium walk rates. So he gets on base or puts a ball in play with a fair amount of premium contact. And he's nice and cheap. Had a great year last year at 282, 348, 421 with 15 home runs, 359 xWOBA. Dalton Varsho, not a bad mixer either. 3,000, 2,800 from the left side with a little bit of pop in the bat. Ernie Clement, more a mix and match piece at 28 on either side, but fills a bunch of positions, including the middle infield. Having a very good year at 299, 321, 439, but a really, really concerning 272 xWOBA under his robust 331 actual. Just comes because he's got no premium contact skills. 10.1% strikeout, 3.4% walk, succeeding on volume of balls in play. Joendrick Pinango, 2,500, 2,600. Successful 146 plate appearances. Getting in and out of the lineup with Jesus Sanchez here and there. Has been hitting the ball squarely. Medium strikeout. Just another outfielder overall, but not expensive if you're going to this team a lot already. Andres Jimenez at the bottom of the lineup, 26, 27, more a mix and match infielder, though he does have 7 home runs and 10 stolen bases in that role this season, and he's always cheap. He's usable, lefty bat. You could throw him into the mix against Nolan McLean. McLean at 93, 95, though, very, very interesting. I would say it's another spot where the pitchers are very close. Given the pricing, I slightly prefer Kevin Gausman against the Mets. I think the Blue Jays bring their own already discussed downside to the equation that for the money knocks Nolan McLean slightly, even though they're projected basically the same with McLean slightly edging out Gausman on both sides. I would say Gausman, McLean, Mets, Blue Jays. I think the Mets are the more likely offense to explode, and Gausman's maybe the more likely pitcher to blow up. Taking our sweet time here. Jeez, 425. Nats with a 4.32 implied total. As mentioned, the home run pick of the day comes from the Washington Nationals against Connolly Early. As good as Early's been, he is giving up an 11% barrel on a 12.8 degree average launch, carrying 90.6 miles an hour of exit velo, 41.9% hard hit. So we're over our lines in all 3 categories, leading to exactly a 4% home run rate. But he's been good. Again, 3.59 ERA, but does have a 4.16 xFIP, 4.0 CR. Probably in truth right now, a 4-run pitcher. 23.5% strikeout, but had more strikeout in his bag last season in 4 starts, 19 and a third and a cup of coffee at the end of the year, 36.7% strikeout rate. I don't think we're going back to that territory, but 27, 28 might be in play for this kid in the longer term. 85, 93, I think he's fairly priced, taking on a gettable Nationals team, but that is a healthy total at 4.32. Different kind of slate. We'd be talking more about that spot. Both their big lefties can succeed against a lefty like this, and they've got high-quality righties in that lineup. So I'm kind of interested maybe in some off-the-beaten-path Nationals bats, but I would play Connolly Early for his price against them. He projects pretty similarly to the 2 guys we just talked about. Cade Cavalli out of the bargain bin at 66 on DraftKings. 23.8% strikeouts against the 7.8% walk. He's not an ace, but that's a 16% strikeout minus walk. It's not bad. 4.0 ERA with a 3.9 xFIP, 3.8 Sierra, right on the nose basically for a 3.7, 4-run pitcher. Limits home run power, 1.87% home runs against on a 9.3 degree average launch this year. That's been an ongoing attribute. So as much as the Red Sox come in at a 4.78 implied total, I think there's enough talent there to at least talk about some Cade Cavalli on a slate that's not exactly, it's overflowing with options from that price range, but not options of a lot of quality. So I think he's at least in the mix from right there. Last time out, 6 innings of 2-run ball, 5 hits, struck out 7, allowed a home run and walked 1. That was against the Phillies. The start before only went 2 2/3. That was back on the 20th. Allowed 2 earned runs, 6 hits, 1 strikeout, 3 walk. Not exactly sure what happened there. Not going to go back in time and look it up. Prior to that, had gone 5 in 3 straight outings, allowing a couple few earned runs in each. 6 strikeouts in 1. That was against Miami. 5 strikeouts against the Mariners, with only 2 strikeouts in Arizona out in the desert in a 4-run day that was his worst of those 3 starts. And then had a run of, some 4 fairly deep, pitched into the 6th or beyond, completed the 6th 3 times, completed the 7th once, pitched into the 7th twice through May. That was after he really got stretched out for the season. So just a couple of bumps in the road and a couple of shorter outings, but got back to it with 6 innings in the last one. I think 6 decent innings here against the Sox wouldn't be out of the question. And it's not like they've been killing it all season. They do have some premium lefties like Willie Abreu in the lineup. Jaron Duran has been underperforming overall for the season at 197, 253, 356, but we know is a lot better than that. It's not an unthreatening Red Sox team, but they're not exactly killing it. 4.78 implied feels a little high. Starting on the Nationals side, though, James Wood, superstar. We talked about the run scoring. The on base is outrageous at 383. He's already made 400 plate appearances this year just in the leadoff role every day. 73 runs scored. He's going on like 20 runs beyond the second place contender. 11.01 to lead the team in the home run model. Not the home run pick of the day against Connolly Early, who again is giving up a lot of premium contact. CJ Abrams at 5.90. Also not the home run pick of the day. Those two guys lead this team, 21 homers and 17 homers, 13 stolen bases apiece. CJ getting on at a 357 clip, creating runs at a 137 pace by WRC Plus. He's just been tremendous for any price. 54.39, absolutely great option at shortstop. Putting those two guys together is obviously an expensive proposition on either side, but everyone else in this Nationals lineup is nice and cheap. So it really, really helps. And the biggest piece of that is our home run pick of the day in the 2 spot, Andres Chaparro. 2,300 on DraftKings, 2,200 on FanDuel. Has not homered this year in his 54 plate appearances, but an excellent source of premium contact upside. Last year, in a small sample, had an 11.1% barrel, just one home run, but put good wood on the ball numerous times. There is upside here. Hit 4 home runs in 2024 in his 132 plate appearances. And then going to the minors, has 6 on the board in 143 chances this year. This is a 27-year-old at AAA, so there's nothing overly special about minor league home runs at this point. But at least he's hitting down there. 260, 336, 465 to go with the long balls. In 233 plate appearances in the minors as a 26-year-old last year, 15 home runs. He hit 23 to go with the 4 major league home runs back in 2024 as a 25-year-old. In 2023 with the Yankee system, he hit 25 home runs and 601 AAA plate appearances when he was actually age appropriate at age 24. So there's always been realistic power upside here. And he's made intriguing contact in the show despite not finding the results for it. That's your home run pick of the day. It's about as cheap as you're going to find for a home run pick. I almost went super chalky and took Teoscar Hernandez. Consider him the backup. But he's going to be one of the most popular players on the slate. Instead, I went a different direction. Curtis Mead is really interesting. 4,500, 3,100, multi-position eligible on FanDuel. Third base totally works on DraftKings for 45. He's hit 14 home runs in 251 chances while making really good contact through the season. 227, 323, 468. I think we're going to see him, up and down throughout the slash line, especially in the batting average department, but he could push some on base because he is low strikeout right now, and he's drawing a solid 10.8% walk rate. Both those things dramatically improved over previous seasons and maybe sticky. Once upon a time, very high-end prospects, so not an uninteresting option, 119 WRC plus, and all the numbers are supported by the weighted on base. Dylan Cruz, another high-end prospect who's finding it a little bit. 5 home runs on the board, 3 stolen bases, and 145 chances, making good contact at the plate that represents an improvement over last year with that uptick to a 46.2% hard hit rate. Still a small sample, but there's growth there, and there's a lot of talent there. And he's nice and cheap, $36.29. If you're going to this team already, might as well help cheapen it up by getting some Dylan Cruz. Jacob Young is usable. Limited for premium contact, but low strikeout, a lot of balls in play. 8 home runs, 8 stolen bases. You just ignore the rest of the slash line. He's just a piece and ultimately just another outfielder. But again, usable if you're going to this team, helps cheapen things up. Dallin Lyle's a little bit more expensive and has been giving you almost the exact same output as Jacob Young, slightly more consistently, but not anything really to create that much difference price-wise. So if you need the discount, just take Jacob Young, but Dallin Lyle very much on the board, even lefty here. Nasim Nunez has pulled himself together a little bit with the bat, getting on base slightly more, hitting for a little bit more average, finding a few extra base hits along the way. Really, we're talking about Nunez for stolen base upside, for run creation upside, and you're hoping that he gets on base. He's only got a 71 WRC plus because he's so bad with the bat, but he leads the league with 32 stolen bases because he's so fast. So little bit of bonus upside there. Not a terrible way to fill second base, but also not a dynamite option on this slate. And then Gilbert Ruiz has always put bat on ball with consistency, but limited results. Right now hitting 278, but only a 306 on base. Doesn't walk at all. Needs to find success via BABIP and doesn't hit the ball particularly hard. So it's some good, some bad in there. If he could manage to hit the ball at all harder than we've seen in years past, he would have a nice track towards success. Right now, a 5.2% barrel is an uptick over those 2 years back to where he was back in 2023. He has hit 6 home runs in the small sample. We'll see where it goes, but a limited option overall down toward the bottom of the lineup. The Red Sox coming in with the higher total, but I don't know. I think there's a strong argument to be made that they're the less interesting of the two teams, especially with Cavalli's ability to potentially limit the home runs. Find some strikeout along the way. Again, this is a good pitcher. Those numbers are not bad right now. Yoshida at 2,900, 2,300, not uninteresting at the top of the Sox projected lineup if you want to get to this team, though. Lefty to throw into the mix, a line drive hitter, doesn't really hit all that many home runs and finds his success in via sequencing and getting to first base, putting balls in play, draws some walks, pushing it this year up to 9.4%. It's up from 4.9 last year, but the year before it was 6.4, so maybe believably somewhere in between those two numbers. Ceddanne Rafaela, good for counting stats, continuing to have a good slash line over 315 plate appearances now, but the next 300 pretty likely to undermine those results so far, especially given that 287 xWOB under the 337 actual. You can always just pick off the occasional home run, stolen base, and some run scoring and some RBI potential with Ceddanne Rafaela, and especially when he's hitting second in this lineup with consistency, there is upside based on that spot and the fact that he's still relatively cheap. Second base eligible as well on FanDuel. Willier, massive power, 10 home runs on the season in 349 plate appearances. A little off the pace for the power output, but he's made up for it by improving in other areas. Strikeouts are well down. Walks are right where they were, so he's getting on base with reliability. He's creating runs at a decent pace. But we want a little bit more power out of Willier on an ongoing basis. Very good option. 6.0 leads the team in the home run model, but that doesn't particularly stand out relative to a slate with a lot of power on it. Wilson Contreras, arguably their best bat, 282, 376, 533, 18 home runs on the board, 13.8% barrel. He's been killing it all year, 51.37, not inappropriately priced. But again, I do feel like the Red Sox are maybe a little bit overestimated here in Vegas. Or maybe it's Cavalli's underestimated. Duran, as mentioned, struggling, 197, 253, 356. Ouch. But he's better than that. He's better than that 287 xWOBA says he is too. Better than that 63 WRC plus. Either that or the Red Sox just randomly suck. I'm not sure. Caleb Durbin, one of the worst players in baseball this year. 231, 286, 393, and 83 WRC plus. A 280 xWOBA under his 298 actual. He's done anything. Where have we been over? Yeah, it's been a good stretch. I was going to say, those numbers did look like they had climbed somewhat. Month of June, got to give him credit. 325, 360, 614. 6 home runs. A little bit of an outburst. Oops. Wrong side of the board. So 6 of those 7 home runs have come this month. 9 stolen bases on the board for the year. 5 of those have come this month. It's a big time outburst. See if he can continue it. That's a 413 weighted on base for the month against a 310 xWOBA, just to put it in perspective. I continue to think that this is just a little bit of an uptick. But people did have him, as a go-to breakout contender for the year. Coming into this year. Low strikeout, put a ton of balls in play last season, 9.9% strikeout, 5.9% walk. The walk's right in line with where it was. Strikeouts are well up, but they're still only at 14.4%. So you can get a lot of balls in play. Last year he had 11 home runs, stole 18 bases, was a contender for Rookie of the Year, 256, 334, 387. But overperformed. 319 weighted on base is technically 100th of a point below average. 312 xWOBA is well below that. So he overperformed in what was overall an okay season with no real reason to think that he would add anything to it, given his 4% barrel, his 26.9% hard hit rate. This is just a guy who succeeds on balls in play from time to time and puts a lot of them in play. And you get stretches like this month of June. You're not paying any kind of tax for the June that he's had, 27-27. If you're going to this team, you could probably do worse, given that Anthony Siegler, Connor Wong, and Sung Chae Cheng are the next few players. Cheng had a good day at Minden Price the other day. He put up like 9 FanDuel points in a random lineup where I got him as a one-off. 2,200 today. I don't really feel like occupying short like that with the 9-hitter from the Red Sox. Siegler has been okay over 40 plate appearances, and Connor Wong continues to find success over 110 where he's putting the ball in play, getting on base. 1 home run on the board, but we've seen him hit for a little bit more power in years past. So solid mixers down toward the bottom of the lineup, I'd say, but probably all 3 of these guys. These 2 for sure, and probably also Durbin over the last month overperforming. Connolly early. Nationals bats. Red Sox bats. Cade Cavalli on DraftKings, Cade Cavalli on FanDuel. House, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Bunch of people here hanging out. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. The website's rotoscouts.com. And scrolling across the bottom of your screen, just went away. Promo code TRYME, all one word, capital T, capital M, gets you a free first week anytime on a weekly plan. So check out rotoscouts.com. Get behind the paywall. Access the baseball projections, the home run picks, the top stacks, the power index, the game snapshots, and so on and so forth. Give it a look. Join our ongoing home run picks contest as well. Details right there. You got to leave a comment after the show. Post-show comment with your pick. 1st to 5 wins a free month. Leaders as of the other day, we're at 3. We might have somebody at 4. I don't think anybody won it yet. We'll clean that up for tomorrow's show. Not a lot going on in chat right now, but drop your thoughts in, gang, as we continue on here. Cards 420, implied Braves 489. As mentioned, I think the Braves are awfully interesting against Matthew Liberatore. My hope would be that they go through as one of those under-owned teams by comparison to just some of the real standout spots of the day. And this is a team we love to get to. They have a lot of power in the lineup. They've got a lot of high-quality bats, even with no Ronnie Acuna on an ongoing basis. There's still plenty of potential in this Braves lineup, and you get some underperformers who are priced way down, like Austin Riley, hiding down in the 7th spot in this lineup at third base. He's only 3,500. He's 2,800 on FanDuel. 8 home runs. Really, really struggling for any kind of consistency. But if you look under the covers, I was looking at his swing and everything last night. And, some of the results-based stuff are off the mark, but a lot of how the swing actually measures over the last few years are really not that far removed from who he's been. And who he was what was it, 4 years in a row, 30-plus home runs? Still only 29, so it's not like he's some 37-year-old guy coming down the other side of his career. One wouldn't think. He should be right in the middle of his prime. But he's been diminished over each of the last 3 years. This year, over 332 plate appearances, by far the worst of those 3. So a concern for Austin Riley's ongoing just ability, but always in play because he's gotten awfully cheap, just right in line with that decline. And it's a slate from here. You're going to see a lot of pricing going the other direction. Like the FanDuel slate, especially Cole Carrick in Coors Field is, I think, like the 4th highest priced player of the entire slate, which is bonkers. Appreciate you, Rabbit Hole. Beyond the Rabbit Hole says, nobody else online gives us research like Terry. Give this man a like. Appreciate you, buddy. I try. So I think that, the Braves, just with who's on this team with that healthy 4.89 total against a pitcher pitching to a 5.56 ERA, but a 4.31 xFIP, 4.41 Sierra. Even if he was at those numbers, we'd be talking about how targetable Liberatore is. He also walks too many. He doesn't strike out enough. 10.9% barrels on a fly ball trajectory, 42.9% hard hit, 91.1 miles an hour of exit velo. That near 5% home run rate he's allowing is entirely believable. It's a great target. I continue to think that somewhere in there, Liberatore is a better pitcher than that, but we've only seen that guy 2 or 3 times in his 16 starts this year. He's been mostly really bad. He's 55 on DraftKings. If you want to throw a faith-based dart at that, I wouldn't call you completely crazy, but it's in no way something that I can actually sit here and endorse because he's just been bad. In 150 lineups, I would absolutely do it a couple times. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying what I would do. He does have the potential to snap off a decent start and give you, 7 upside innings from time to time. Just very, very infrequently this year. You can see how, you can see some of that in, look how above average those 3 pitches are. Again, 100 is league average, but the stuff overall measures out below average for the full arsenal. And he can rarely put it together and make it all work together. His stuff doesn't just dance well. Just a 9.7% swinging strike, a 20.2% strikeout rate overall. That's what I mean when I say it's in there somewhere, though. Somebody just needs to figure it out for him. And one of these seasons, it'll all click, but it hasn't been this year. FanDuel, by the way, at 6,900, I just don't think you do it. There's a difference between that for one pitcher and the 55, just, step stool that is created at SP2. Martin Perez on the Brave side at 72.85, I think creates opportunity for the Cards, but you have to mention at least that, 3.0 ERA, he's been pitching over his head, but even the 3.96 xFIP is not completely awful. 4.25 CRE, he's been pitching manageably well. Too many walks, not enough strikeouts, not enough swinging strikes, but he's been limiting premium contact. He's been keeping the ball in the yard. He's been keeping the ball mostly on the ground. So that does create problems for fantasy scoring. You can see a little bit of impact in that on, guys like Jordan Walker and Nelson Velasquez at their more limited than against some pitchers would be home run numbers, especially against lefties. So there is a little impact from that. I think it more knocks the Cards than it makes Perez particularly usable, but at 72 on DK, I wouldn't begrudge you the same kind of, dart throws. It's just not the same price impact at 72 that, say, a 55 has, and needs to connect in different ways. He has to be a little bit better than Liberatore would have to be for the price difference. I think the story, though, is offense on both sides. J.J. Weatherholt at 44.35, very interesting. Good way to fill shortstop, second base on DraftKings, second base on FanDuel as well. 12 home runs, 9 stolen bases, a 120 WRC plus. Kid's been fantastic. Kind of gets lost in a discussion of just all the high-quality young players these days. But he's been really, really good over 350 plate appearances now, essentially a full half season. Ivan Herrera continues to be really cheap. Didn't roll my R well there. Herrera. I can't do it all that well conversationally, like keep talking. It stops me from the next word in English when I try and roll it. And in a hurry. But 4,100 continues to be a really great price for a very, very good catcher on the site where you need it. He's 3,700 on the site where you don't need his position, but we pretend like he's their first baseman because they don't otherwise have one. So fire away on either site, but that DraftKings price is hilariously low. 397 on base. Creating runs 33% better than average by WRC plus. A 365 xWOB is supporting his 362 actual. He is just this good. He was this good throughout last year. He hits the ball hard. He hits the ball with consistency. He draws walks. He's just one of the best catchers in baseball, and he's 41. Doesn't make sense. 51 for Jordan Walker, 39. He's been in a bit of a downturn over the last few weeks. I saw Eduardo NT9KI's question, trade Robbie Ray for Riley Green, and somehow the thought of the last few years jumped into my head as I was talking there. Yeah, I would trade Robbie Ray a whole bunch of times over for Riley Green. Absolutely. I like Riley Green a lot. And I'm not the biggest Robbie Ray guy in the world. It would depend on your league format to a degree. If somehow like strikeouts are weighted more than run scoring is, or if like innings pitched is weighted more than say like wins or quality starts, then Ray has a little bit more value. But I think Riley Green, assuming that you use like, home run, any kind of average on base, OPS based stat, run scoring, etc. That's a really good, high quality bat from a underperforming but good lineup. So yeah, especially if you have any kind of pitching depth. But Robbie Ray has his upside days, but by and large, that's a pretty replaceable player. If you just want to stream that spot the rest of the season, I bet you could replicate Robbie Ray's numbers if you pay any attention to streaming pitchers. Or let's put it this way, you should be able to. check, Google each week, like 2 start pitchers this coming week, best streaming options. Pretty easy. There's enough good content out there that you should be able to make that work just streaming that spot. And there's probably guys on your wire that you can pick up and just have for the rest of the year and be good in that. Similar to Robbie Ray type vein. Philly fan, new sub here. Awesome, buddy. Good to meet you. Welcome. I'm a New York fan myself, but we enjoy Philly fans around here. Philly fans, New York fans, Boston fans, as much as we go back and forth, I've always said, with each other, much as there can be, some contention there. As you guys put it, it's brotherly love, right? I think Philly, New York, and Boston all have each other's backs if it all came down to it. Cards, again, as we were saying, though, interesting spot going up against any lefty. You do get a lot of upside out of Jordan Walker. I was about to look up the last few weeks of Jordan Walker when we got sidetracked on the Robbie Ray question. I'll take season-long questions any day, by the way, guys, if you got them. So Walker's had a tremendous breakout season, as we've talked about throughout, but if we're talking about since the beginning of June, 292, 310, 438, 3 home runs. So still quite good, but walks are down, strikeouts are up, 146 ISO, 104 WRC plus, 313 xWOBA under a 320 actual. So he's just been around league average in terms of WOBA. And I think if we shorten that to like the last 2 weeks, we're down at 244, 286, 244, 45 WRC plus, a 251 xWOBA under a 233 actual, so technically underperforming. We know he's underperforming, though. No home runs over the last 2 weeks. 1 caught stealing. Only one run scored and 2 RBIs in his last 49 plate appearances on 11 hits. No extra base hits in that stretch. So it's been a lot of singles and a lot of nothing. Too many strikeouts. It's a 2-week downturn. Kid is ultimately tremendous. The talent that we've seen on display all season is very, very real. And you continue going back there. The hope becomes that people go around him, don't go to the cards because of it, or eventually that it gets priced in. DraftKings slowly but surely starting to price it in at 51. FanDuel holding strong at 39. Nelson Velasquez helps offset any price concerns around Jordan Walker, though. Immense power upside from the right side against any given lefty. But again, Perez has been good at limiting power, keeping the ball on the ground. So it does check home run upside to a degree. But Velasquez can get the barrel on the ball, 11.5% barrel, 65.4% hard hit in his 40 plate appearances, and has put up robust numbers for premium contact and hit a bunch of home runs in small stretches in the past. 2 on the board already in 40 plate appearances so far this year. Jose Fitterman, mix and match type guy, but he can deliver 271, 320, 398, few hits, few based upside games, 3 home runs, 3 stolen bases to go with those, but not a tremendous piece. Mason Wynn, overrated player, more mix and match, and limits your options, limits your quality at shortstop to a pretty great degree. Lars Nootbaar is a high quality player from the left side, and honestly, against a low end lefty like Martin Perez, I have no issues playing Nootbaar. He's shown plenty of upside for success against left-handed pitching. 2 home runs on the board, a solid 294, 395, 471 slash line, hitting the ball squarely as well. 11.5% barrel, 55.8% hard hits in the small sample. Blaze Jordan's really interesting at 31.29 with all his power success throughout the minor leagues and throughout his life. Plus, so far in 53 plate appearances, 9.4% strikeout rate, 3.8% walk. We'll talk about it in another 150, but that's impressive at least so far for a kid with the power that he's got. And then Nathan Church is a mix and match guy in the outfield at the bottom of the lineup. The more interesting Braves, Drake Baldwin, another guy who's just been one of the best catchers in baseball. 255, 337, 463, 375 xWOBA on all this premium contact. So could be delivering even more. Has a good shot at having a bigger second half than he did first half. It's a great option, but you can see 4,800 versus the 41 on the other side. There's not that much difference between those two catchers in terms of just general quality. Baldwin comes with a little bit more power, but it's not that dramatically different. Herrera's lower strikeout, higher walk, more on base, more run creation. Either one's a great option, but nice price discount over here just to illustrate that one more time. Ozzie Albies at 42.32, continuing to defy his 302 xWOBA, 107 WRC plus, 12 home runs in 351 plate appearances, but limited for premium contact. Questionable if the output's able to continue, but he's done this before. Wouldn't shock. Matty Olson's gotten real cheap at 49 on DraftKings. 20 home runs, 345 on base. Don't really know why. I think I was ranting about this just the other day. That's an incorrect price for Matt Olson, who is just doing everything Matt Olson's always done. 36 on FanDuel is more representative. Could be like 38, 4,000 wouldn't even shock. But 49 is really nice and cheap. Take advantage. That's a great piece. Best bat on this team right now. Michael Harris at 43.32. Again, not reflecting the quality that he's put up all season long. 14 home runs, a 126 WRC plus, a 375 xWOBA under the 356 actual. Says that this great performance so far has been technically underperforming. Look at all the premium contact he's been making. He's just been tremendous, and he's only 43 on DraftKings. They've just not raised his price stubbornly like all season, and he's just been really good. What are the last few weeks? I can't keep doing this with every game, but I just want to see. Started June, we're getting on base a little bit less. 268, 293, 408. Just one home run, 9 runs, 7 ribbies, stole 2 bases, solid 331 xWOBA under a 304 actual. So underperformed so far for the month of June, but still some reasonable quality in there and plenty of support for the fact that, you know, the breakout over the first 3 months of the season is very real. That's a player, I mean, I say breakout, that's a player who's just been good in terms of counting stats and fantasy stats. Mauricio Dubon, more of a mix and match guy, more of a utility man, multiple position for a cheap price on FanDuel. Just another outfielder really on DraftKings. He's a lot more interesting with the ability to move him around the board for cheap on FanDuel. He's having a good year. 104 WRC plus, 324, 321 xWOBA and WOBA. It's perfectly fine. Eli White, just another outfielder on either site, but awfully cheap. Talked about Austin Riley already. Love the upside for him, and 3,500, 2,800, nice and cheap, but ongoing struggles, very, very real struggles that I'm struggling myself to figure out exactly what's going on, but would continue going back there. Joey Bart gives you another cheap catcher option at 27-26. We've seen some success for the oddball power output, 3 home runs on the board so far this year. And then Jorge Mateo is always interesting for some mix and match level home runs, 4 on the board already this season, and a lot of speed, 8 stolen bases. He's been squaring the ball up nicely in small sample this year, but that's not particularly characteristic of him. But that's a guy who's always been interesting for fantasy. Better fantasy player for sure for his career than an actual major leaguer, but intriguing from the bottom of this Braves lineup if you need a last piece. Braves bats, Cards bats. On price, it probably is Matthew Liberatore at 55. Matthew Liberatore DK, Martin Perez DK. You're probably pretty unlikely to succeed with either of those options, and I don't recommend them. And then it would be probably Perez over Liberatore on FanDuel. Reds at 4, Brewers at 5. Kind of speaks for itself. Brandon Sproat at 6,500, 7,700. Coming in with a 24.7% strikeout, but way too many walks at 10.8%. You can see a solid swinging strike rate to go with that strikeout. 5.43 ERA, but a nice 4.17 xFIP, 4.11 Sierra. Nice run and change different. So you can see a little bit of upcoming normalization for Sproat as he figures things out at this level. Premium prospect. Couple pitches that grade out way above average. But overall, stuff doesn't quite measure up yet. We're below average across all 3 of the plus categories. So it's not like he's locating with mid-grade stuff. He's just a little bit all over the place. Still needs a little bit of seasoning, still needs to iron some things out. He's given up a little premium contact, 14.6 degree average launch, 41.8% hard hits, over 90 miles an hour of exit velo becomes problematic, 4.41% home runs becomes problematic, and is feeding a little bit of power upside for the obvious guys from the Reds. I do think Sproat comes with upside here. 65 is a great price from the bargain bin to throw at this Reds lineup that's pushing a 23.9% strikeout rate with his confirmed version of the lineup, and with Sproat finding some Ks. Last time out, he was tremendous, again, against this team in a more pitcher-friendly park in their home ballpark. 6 innings of 1 hit ball, struck out 10, walked 0. By far his best start in the show. No guarantees of doing that again. Start before that, he went 3 2/3, allowed 4 earned runs on 2 hits, including a home run, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, and was out of the game against the Guardians. Good day before that, over 6, 1 run ball, 4 hits, 3 strikeouts, and a walk against the A's, but allowed a home run. Had allowed a homer in 4 straight games. Only 2 games with multiple home runs allowed, though, but hadn't been pitching particularly deep into games. The fact that he went 6 in 2 of the last 3 starts is at least encouraging for a little added depth potential. I still don't think we go there at 77 on FanDuel. Seems less than likely to find the quality start here. 4-run total on the other side. Only 3 times all year has he completed the 6th inning. I don't think it's as good a piece on FanDuel as it is potentially on DraftKings at 65, where we're less concerned with quality start. Rhett Lauder at 58, 7,000, 18.5% strikeouts, but 11.2% walks. Does not collide well. 7.34 strikeout minus walk. Obviously problematic through the ERA and the XFIP and Sierra. At least those two match one another and are real close to the ERA, but none of that is good. All of that makes him a target for Brewers bats. 5-run total for them. Don't play Rhett Lauder really at any price. If he was 4,000, would we make an argument for it? I guess we would. He's kept the ball in the yard, but honestly, not through anything he's actually done. It's a lot of barrels on a fly ball, and both of those are also over the line. So actually, pretty lucky to be keeping the ball in the yard like he has. He could be even worse than what he looks like here. Yeah, even if he was 4,000, I don't know if I'd be arguing for it. Brewers bats against big time in play, but starting with the Reds, Ellie De La Cruz at the top of the lineup at 52.38. Super interesting multi-category contributor to throw at Brandon Sproat. Should give him all kinds of problems. Ellie's strikeouts are slightly back up this season. Walks are still in line with where they were. I would expect the strikeouts to normalize back down toward last year by about 2.5 points. The premium contact is up, though. Barrels are up. Hard hits are up. 13 homers, 10 stolen bases, a 122 WRC plus, an intriguing 361 xWOBA, a little bit better than the 356 actual. He's just fantastic. Missed a little bit of time in those totals as well. Sal Stewart at 47.36, nice and cheap on DraftKings for a guy with 15 home runs and 11 stolen bases. An excellent slash line with a 341 on base, creating runs at a 114 clip via WRC+. There's nothing not to like about Sal Stewart. Maybe some lack of consistency could be shown through that 40.8% hard hit rate, but I don't honestly care. He doesn't strike out that much. He draws a lot of walks. He's on base all the time, creating multi-category contributions across the board. It is a really good DFS piece. Don't understand the pricing. You do run into some positional conflict if you're trying to get both Joanny Suarez and Nathaniel Lowe into your lineups. But I'm more than willing to sacrifice Nathaniel Lowe most of the time and take Suarez there and Sal Stewart at first base. So it's kind of mitigated by the fact that Nathaniel Lowe just overperformed for a little stretch this season. We've seen him do that in years past. He's not bad at 3,426, and I would use him in some lineups if I'm building a lot with Reds, but he's a lower priority bat than Suarez. He's a lower priority bat than Sal Stewart. So it knocks the position conflict down a little bit. In between those players, JJ Bleday's been tremendous. 13 home runs, a 353 on base, 373 xWOBA, fully supporting his 370 actual. He's just apparently this good now. I didn't see it coming at all. This was one of the bigger surprises so far for me this year. 242, 353, 505. It would be even better if he could give you consistent batting average. But honestly, striking out less than 20% of the time, walking at a 14% clip, who really cares? He's been tremendous. 4,500 on DraftKings. They don't seem to have noticed. 37 on FanDuel. Fully priced over there. Suarez just finding his sea legs. 8 home runs. Problematic as far as that slash line goes. Back in the lineup today after taking a ball off the wrist over the weekend, and his wrist swelled up so much on Sunday that they couldn't x-ray him till Monday. X-rays came back negative, and he missed yesterday's game anyway. But back in the lineup, just know that he's got potentially an ouchie on his hand, and it might impact his swing for today and the next couple of days. Novi Marte, Edwin Arroyo, two interesting young players down toward the bottom of the lineup. Neither one has really stood out for DFS. I was on Arroyo when he got called up for the home runs and the stolen bases he was putting up in the minors. He's put up an okay slash line in 73 plate appearances, but 0 counting stats, no barrels so far. Kind of surprising. A little bit disappointing there. 327 xWOB is at least noteworthy under that 298 actual. Says that there is a performer there at some point. Novi Marte, probably the more interesting of the two right now for the power. 4 home runs, 4 stolen bases, but an otherwise terrible slash line over 101. And then Jose Trevino, more a catcher than he is a hitter. TJ Friedel, a mix and match level outfielder. Some interesting counting stats, the ability to fill a stat line for sure, but an up and down piece. On the Brewers side, Christian Yelich, absolute priority if you're going to this team, 5,000, 3,400. I love the way that, say this team pairs with maybe the Braves as a further off the Braves being maybe a little further off the beaten path. And then the Brewers, despite the 5-run total, maybe coming in behind the Cubs game, behind the Coors game, behind the Athletics game as like your 5th or 6th most popular team. I think they get shares, but I do think they fall into that mix a little bit more. So really interesting squad. Again, Yelich, absolute priority. 5 homers, 5 steals. Counting stats are a little bit down overall, but would love him to come roaring back in full support of that idea that he will, even with a 296 xWOB under his 325 being at least a measurable point of concern so far. Jackson Chourio just turning into the star that he's expected to be. 291, 344, 519, already up to 11 homers in just 224 chances. Bryce Turang, one of the better second base options on any given slate. 12 homers, 13 steals, fire away. He's been tremendous. William Contreras at 46, not a bad way to fill catcher. Hits the ball consistently hard. 298, 363, 428. Just fits right in with this team theme of just getting on base, creating churn, sequencing, creating runs. Look at this on base across the top 7 hitters in this lineup. Excuse me, the top 6 hitters in this lineup. 354 collective on base. Absolutely outstanding. That's a 351 collective weighted on base, 337 collective xWOBA. So slightly maybe overperforming, but 337 across 6 hitters is absolutely fantastic. Jake Bowers and Garrett Mitchell both drive the ball very well from the left side. 12.7 and 13.4% barrel rates, 53.8, 48.5% hard hits. Some point, Garrett Mitchell is going to start hitting more home runs. Given this, just needs to find a little bit more consistency. Getting on base like crazy, though. He's been a contributor all year long. 255 very good plate appearances with the potential for more, given how he hits the ball. Sal Frelick has underperformed this season. Needs to pull it together, find some more consistent on base, start regularly stealing bases and creating runs out there again. Mix and match piece right now with the way he's playing. Cooper Pratt gives you a little bit of upside based on the minor league pedigree. 44 pretty non-impactful plate appearances so far outside of the 5 stolen bases. And then David Hamilton, pretty low end outside of the 17 stolen bases. I would say this is Brewers all day. Brewers, Reds, Sproat, don't think we play louder. And Sproat's really DK only. All right, I hit the lineup button. If you haven't done it already, hit the like button for me. Appreciate it. Cap says the Brewers are absolutely gutless. I'm gonna keep fading for stacking purposes. It is definitely his skill set holding him back, Cap. Yeah, he's not good. He was the worst pitcher in NPB last year. Can barely get through to the Long Island Ducks. He's not a major league pitcher. He had one good year, and it was the COVID year. One good year. He's even in, what we know about him. And I'm only talking about him as a pitcher. I'm not talking about the extracurricular activities. 212 starts in this show. Wait, is this aggregating his? No. I just want his major league stuff. Yeah, 212. 3.79 ERA, 3.93 xFIP. So he's a 4-run pitcher. 25.9% strikeout against 9% walk. I could pick this guy up off waivers
any given day. And he's just gotten worse. In NPB last year, Japanese League, 4.51 ERA. Did have a 2.94 xFIP, sure. Struck out 20.9% in the Japanese League. He's 35 now. It's over, man. You're not good. He'll put up good days against, the Long Island Ducks and so on. But Greg Biancone says, I didn't have a mention of the Long Island Ducks on my Rotoscouts bingo card. Yeah, my buddy JP out in Cleveland is a big Guardians fan now and has that same soft spot for Bauer based on his pitching talent. But and again, not talking about any of the personal stuff. Not a big fan, but just talking baseball side, I just don't think he was ever really that good. It was one good year. The good year was quite good. It was 2019 and then the COVID season. So 2019. He made 34 starts through 213 innings, had a 4.48 ERA, a 4.33 xFIP. So those numbers aren't great. Struck out 27.8 against 9% walks, and then followed that up with 11 starts, 73 innings in the COVID year, 1.73 ERA, 3.25 xFIP, was tremendous that season. And then was honestly pretty decent at the beginning of 2021 for 17 starts, 2.59 ERA, but a 3.69 xFIP under the surface. Was finding the strikeout in those season and a half. So that's essentially one good full season, and then one partially good season. Several years of 30 plus starts and was pitching to a 4.2 ERA, 4.2 xFIP for the most part. Anyway, people bailing out as we're talking about Trevor Bauer instead of the slate. Let me get back on track. 4.92 implied total for the Rays going up against Noah Cameron, who's pitching to a 4.50 ERA, 3.96 xFIP, 4.03 Sierra, 21% strikeouts, limited option on the mound. He's given up a little bit of premium contact, but nothing problematic. It does lead to the occasional home run, but only a 2.29% home run rate. Not bad, but plenty of fly ball upside, plenty of potential for a guy like Junior Caminero to put one in the seats. He's got a 12.37 in the home run model. He's leading the FanGraphs game sims, or one of the leaders in FanGraphs game sims as far as home run potential today. He's got 22 on the season. Long ball waiting to happen for 63-36. Absolutely priority in the Rays lineup. Jonathan Aranda in the 2 spot at 44-34 is really interesting. 286-3, 94-66. Him and Yandy Diaz, just tremendous table setters. Yandy getting on at a 416 clip, 159 WRC plus, 138 WRC plus. All the power upside, consistently hard hit. Both those guys are ridiculous. That is a great 3-man. Where you struggle with the Rays is after those 3 guys, you're dealing with a lineup of Ryan Vilade, who's got some speed and gets on base with some reliability and is going to continue to defy his xWOBA most likely because of that speed. But overall is not all that great for DFS point creation. Johnny DeLuca is just a mix and match level outfielder. Chandler Simpson, who another guy has got all the speed in the world. 19 stolen bases, but just a 306 on base this year. 280 WOBA with a 256 xWOBA under the surface. Really concerning lack of output from Simpson this year. So he's not a major source of point creation. Ben Williamson, Taylor Walls, Nick Fortes. This is not a great bottom 2/3 of this Rays lineup. So it's really about those top 3 guys. I really like how those 3 guys line up against Noah Cameron, but that's what everybody who goes to the Rays is going to do. They also play first base, third base on FanDuel, first and third, first base, and third base on DraftKings. So it becomes problematic positionally. It becomes problematic when you want to get to those positions with a team like, say, the Braves. So they're not the best overall stack in the world, even though they measure up pretty well at 4.92 implied runs. And you will get success. I'm not saying those guys are not guys that you want to put into stacks. You'll get success out of a Ryan Vilade, a Chandler Simpson from time to time, a Taylor Walls from time to time, and they'll contribute to upside days from the Rays. But it's all about what those 3 dudes at the top of the lineup are going to do. On the Royals side, going up against Griffin Jax. Jax, again, just giving us 5 innings in his stretched out form. He's good for missing bats, 13.5% swinging strike rate, comes in with a 23.5% strikeout rate. A lot of normalization in the numbers now that he's thrown more innings after struggling a lot in the bullpen early in the year. 3.33 ERA, 3.69 xFIP, 3.91 Sierra. Tons of upside, little power still on display there, 3.98% home runs, a lot of barrels, a lot of hard hits. But a very good, effective pitcher who at 67 on DraftKings, kind of interesting. Could find some Ks. Royals coming in with a 22.4% strikeout collectively. There's a little bit more strikeout downside in this lineup for them this year. So Jax could target that. I don't really like it at 84 on FanDuel because I don't think he gives you the particularly clear path to a quality start. There is strikeout potential there. He might get away with it, but I don't think he's offset enough by price from the rest of the mid-board, the upper echelon starters. You can see he does measure out above average across all 3+ categories pretty significantly, though. This is a very talented pitcher who is now essentially fully stretched out. So 6 innings not off the board, but we haven't seen him do it, so it's a little bit less likely. Royals bats at 4.67 are on the board against. 4,329 for Carter Jensen, 11 home runs. Solid bat who's able to drive the ball effectively. Could align pretty well against the contact that Jax has given up with some reliability this year. That's another cheap catcher option, and you're getting bonus plate appearances for the fact that he's just in the leadoff role. So not a bad consideration on DK. A little bit less than on FanDuel with the lack of a need to go to the position, with the fact that you also get Sal Perez a little later in the lineup. The fact that Jack Caglianone has first base eligibility is, a factor against that. He also plays in the outfield on FanDuel, so you can get all 3 of those guys or, combinations. But it factors in and it weighs it down a little bit considering what Jensen is on the FanDuel board. Bobby Witt, total priority on both sides, 10 home runs, 28 steals, just one of the best players in baseball, one of the best DFS point creators at his position. Any price for Bobby Witt is usually going to be pretty good. Easy to see him getting to Griffin Jax here. Caglianone, monster power upside. 14 home runs after a nice outburst. Solid slash line, a 124 WRC plus. You can see another 20 points coming via that xWOBA. Tremendous premium contact so far this season. So Jack Caglianone, excellent option by any measure. 4,600. They haven't really noticed on DK. 31 FanDuel is pretty cheap as well. Lane Thomas at 33.26, kind of bumping along this year. Getting on base at least effectively. Some counting stats, a couple good DFS days along the way, drawing a nice walk percentage, just not really hitting the ball as squarely as he did in his most successful days, but hitting cleanup in this lineup, usable. If you're going to this team, he combines well with these guys for that cheap price, and there is more talent there than just another outfielder. Michael Massey has hit the ball hard in years past. Right now, 7.3% barrel, 40.6% hard hit, adequate. 7 home runs on the board, but a 293 on base is kind of dragging him down. But you can take shots at that at second base just for one good batted ball event. Sal Perez has been really disappointing on the year, but again, another guy with the occasional good batted ball event. 9.3% barrel is not nothing. It's just not Sal Perez either. 14-7, 12-2 the last 2 years. John Rave, more mix and matchy, 3,000, but has a home run on the board already in 18 plate appearances with some upside from the left side of the plate. Nick Lofton and Isaac Collins, definitely in the mix and match category, 3 home runs apiece on the season, 103 and 90 WRC plus, but both guys have gotten on base with some reliability over more extended samples than they were. I got to say, it's a deeper Royals lineup, right? Everybody through there is at least intriguing for different reasons at good prices for their positions, where, again, it really is as good as that total might be and as vulnerable as Noah Cameron might be to it and to those 3 hitters. This is a diminished, by comparison, 6-man group. It's not great. It makes it difficult to put the Rays on top. Griffin Jax on DraftKings at 67. Then the Rays for the 3-man. It's really, it's in truth, it's the 3-man Rays. 1, 2, 3, just in a row. Griffin Jax on DraftKings. Everybody else from the Rays. The Royals bats, and then Noah Cameron. But those 3 guys are significantly set apart from the rest of that Rays lineup. And everybody who goes to the Rays is going to use that. Boy, do we have to pick up the pace. 518. He won the Cy. That's going to mean something. He won the Cy in the COVID year. It means he was good that year, which is what I said. It's 11 starts. If we were awarding that this season, Jose Soriano would have won the Cy Young for the good April and May that he had. Talking about 11 starts. That was the year he won the Cy Young, 73 innings. He was really good across the 107 and 2/3 in 17 starts the next season, but under the surface wasn't that good. Just winning the Cy Young for an 11-start, 60-game season doesn't really say that much. His career numbers say that he was, at best, an average pitcher in his best years. His best years were the ones I just talked, the 28 starts across 2020 and 2021. But that was it. That was the only time he was anything better than average. Pods, 5-3-0 implied, 6-3-3 going toward the Cubbies. This is another big day potentially at Wrigley. Matthew Boyd at 77-87, 28.9% strikeout, generating a great swinging strike rate in his 6 starts, his 28 and 2/3. 5.02 ERA, but a 3.17 xFIP, 3.37 CRA. He's better than this, but probably not as good as those underlying numbers. Is a little bit, from time to time, vulnerable to the long ball because he gives up a lot of fly ball trajectory, although both those, 3.63 back here. You can see it on the fly ball trajectory more. 20-degree average launch there, 18 degrees in 2025, 17.6 back in 2023 when he gave up a 3.63% home run. He's managed it a little bit across a larger sample here. 2.65% home runs didn't really burn him. But there is the potential to get the ball in the air and get it out of the yard, which plays up big time in this kind of a situation at Wrigley. JP Sears, the successful start the other day, but he allowed quite a few fly balls in that. Got a home run into the seats. In years past, significant fly ball trajectories and home run problems. Right? All of these are way up as far as launch angle goes, way up as far as home run output goes. So very, very believable that you could be staring more home runs in the face than are even showing through the home run model on both sides of this game. Between the two pitchers, I would be less surprised if Matthew Boyd had a decent day against the league worst offense than if JP Sears had a decent day against the Cubbies. But neither guy is really on my board for DFS. I'm just looking for bats here. Fernando Tatis in the leadoff role at 45-32 is not a bad way to fill second base on any given slate. Getting on at a 345 clip, has a killer 357 xWOBA that we could target for more ongoing upside. Has been making great contact throughout the season, just not putting the ball in the seats like people expect, but still 19 stolen bases, some positive run creation. Samad Taylor at 35 on both sites, differently priced. DraftKings to FanDuel has that second base eligibility on FanDuel, but you're already putting Fernando Tatis there, so it doesn't have that much value at a higher price than Tatis. 84 pretty good plate appearances so far, but I continue to think he's not quite that guy. So does the 313 xWOB under his 354 actual. The DraftKings price is probably more correct. He's just another outfielder. Manny Machado at 39, 3,000 has 15 home runs now. Continues to hit the long ball. We're getting our home run output out of Manny over the last few weeks at least. That's something to hang on. 10.1% barrel and climbing. Approaching that 12.7, 11% from the last couple of years, 10.5 from the year before that. Everything else has been lower end, but maybe some pulse, some signs of life, kicked off the bottom and pushing his way back toward the surface. Something to go to in this lineup. And if we're just hunting for home run power, 9.01 leads in the model. Miguel Andujar, Ty France, mix and match pieces, both for fair prices in the heart of the lineup. Both those guys more line drivey type hitters, but either one could put one in the stands in a game like today with this kind of upside against that kind of a pitcher. But neither guy is among the most likely people in the league to do it. For those prices, though, just guys who could drive the ball somewhat effectively if the people ahead of them are on base, provide some correlated scoring upside, and fill out stacked pretty nicely. Jackson Merrill still underperforming on the year, but some well-struck balls is at least something that you can point to. Strikeouts are up a little bit. Walks are not bad at 7.1%, 18 stolen bases despite just a 272 on base. Just needs to find more success on those batted balls. Xander Bogaerts, up and down performances throughout, but okay for counting stats from time to time. Just don't love filling shortstop with him. I wish he'd still had his second base eligibility. Jace Bowen and Freddie Thurman mix and match pieces down the bottom of the lineup at best. On the Cubs side, PCA, Monster Surge has his price way up, 65.39. We're back to full price superstar level of PCA. He's been mostly performing like it. 17 home runs, 20 steals, a 370 on base. Excellent numbers across the board, but we know that there can be a lot of up and down performances in there. Nico Horner, nice and cheap given his underperformance for the year. 243, 319, 342, 89 WRC plus. Ouch. Even the XWOBA, it's 325, so slightly above average, but that's 5/100ths of a point above average. Not great. Nico gets by on a lot of balls in play and usually finding some consistent output, putting him in the right spot on the field. Kind of miscast as a two-hitter if that's where he lands in the confirmed version of the lineup, but a very, very solid way to fill second base for DFS lineups. Seiya Suzuki at 41 at 32. A lot of power upside, 12 home runs on the board. Also getting on at a 350 clip. That plays nicely against JP Sears, even if we're not homer hunting. But 12.35 leads this team in the home run model. Alex Bregman comes in at a 9.69 in the home run model, despite a downturn in home run power. 6 home runs on the board this year. Limited for premium contact this year, but that's a righty who can still get the ball in the air and deliver against a pitcher like JP Sears. Big believer, and at worst, still getting on at a 339 clip. There's upside there for correlated scoring from the heart of the lineup. Michael Busch, even lefty against this lefty. We're not worried about it. 10.8% barrel. Ian Happ, 14.1% barrel. A lot of power out of both of those bats. 9 homers on the season out of Busch is down as far as pace goes. 17 out of Happ is up as far as pace. Either guy or both guys in any given Cubs stack. 3,600 for Ian Happ, not inappropriate for the output because he gets on base a lot. He creates a lot of runs. He's nice and cheap at 4,300 on DraftKings. The DK pricing on the Cubs is dynamite. Carson Kelly's not a bad mixer at catcher on that site for 26. If you're already going Cubs, he's having a great year. 218 plate appearances, getting on at a 362 clip, a 117 WRC plus. 4 home runs, the power comes and goes, but he can hit the ball squarely again against a pitcher like this with the environment on his side. Love the upside for Carson Kelly at that price. Dansby Swanson at 35 has struggled his way through this year. Sub Mendoza, sub 300 on base. Does have 11 home runs, 10 stolen bases. If we're talking runs and ribbies, 49 and 46. Not bad totals in any of those categories. So for DFS purposes, there's still a player there, and he is still better than those numbers. And then Kevin Alcantara getting into the lineup. Dead min price. That's a player. I haven't talked about him in a minute. What's Alcantara doing down the farm this year? Kev's still only 23, about to turn 24. 248 plate appearances in AAA this season, has 17 home runs, 273, 367, 569 with a 132 WRC plus, 368 xWOB under his 405 actual last season, 17 homers in 430 plate appearances in AAA as a 22-year-old, 14 as a 21-year-old in 148 AAA, 325 AA plate appearances back in 2024. This is their 5th ranked organizational prospect. Monster grades for raw power, significant grades for speed, stole bases throughout the minor leagues. Kid is 6'6", 188 pounds. So big, long, lean O'Neal Cruz type frame. Not saying he's O'Neal Cruz. He's got that ability to whip that bat around similarly. It's an interesting player at the dead min. If he's hitting 9th, so be it. If he happens to find his way to, say, 7th, somewhere around there, all the more interesting. Cubbies bats, Padres bats. Don't really like either pitcher, but if you have to, it's Matthew Boyd over JP Sears. Cap says, we don't care if he was average, though. We liked him as a pitcher. I like my pitchers to be good. I don't know about you. How do you rate yourself against other golfers? By height. Yeah, like it's, again, you can debate what the talent once was. I think it's indisputable with how he's been pitching around the world in recent years and the fact that he's, again, 36 now. It's indisputable that he doesn't belong in the major leagues at this point. Anyway, 4.35 implied on the Twins side, 4.24 on the Astros. Mike Burrows has been entirely vulnerable throughout the year. 5.48 ERA, a 4.73 xFIP, not much better. 4.64 Sierra, slightly better than that, but still not very good. 5.07% home runs is a big part of the problem. That comes on a lot of happenstance, though. If you look, 37.9% hard hits, just 87.8 miles an hour of exit velocity on average. So it's not like he's given up crushed pitches constantly. It's like one bad inning per start. It just really eats away at the overall numbers and gives you some major downside scores for DFS. This is a talented guy. In there somewhere is a good pitcher. 10.6% swinging strike rate on the year shows a little bit of that. His numbers from last year showed quite a bit of that. Everything is down this year. I continue to think something's going on or something's wrong mechanically. Stuff plus down at 93.5 this year. Last year, 95.4, but across location plus, pitching plus, worked out a little bit better, if memory serves. Let me pull those. I don't want the game log. That's why. Last year, it was a 101 location plus last year. So he was locating a bit better, and it made the stuff that graded out on average across the full arsenal work somewhat more effectively. But the larger point is that he had a 104 stuff plus grade on his slider, which is now 95. The sinker went from league average 100 down to 93. And the changeup, which was his weapon, went from 104 all the way to 87. So that's what I mean when I say I think something's going on, whether it's mechanical, whether it's something that Houston wanted him to change when he arrived there from Pittsburgh. Not sure what's creating it, but a significant downturn in strikeout because of it. 24-1 down to 18-4. 3.94 ERA with a 3.86 xFIP, 3.87 Sierra. There was a reason that some of us were excited to see what Mike Burrows would go become in a full season this year in what is, typically a very good, smart pitching organization, but it has just not worked out by and large. That said, at 6,400, I do think it's a dart you could throw against the Twins team. They come in with a 20.7% strikeout rate, just a mediocre 8.6% collective walk rate. There's a few threatening hitters in this lineup, no question, but Burrows has the talent to get through it. It's just a matter of actually finding it again and putting it all on the board for us. He did that last time out, over 6 innings of 1-run ball, 2 hits allowed against Toronto. It's a low strikeout team. He only struck out 3 of them, gave up a home run, walked 1, but that's an adequate day. Start before that, 5 innings of 4 runs. 5 innings of 4 runs. The start before that one, 5 strikeouts, 3 strikeouts. 5 innings of 5-run ball, 3 strikeouts. But then a solid day against Texas, all the way back on May 27th to get to his next best start. 2 earned runs over 7, struck out 6, walked 1, gave up a home run. But that's how infrequent the good ones have been. May 8th, good one at Cincinnati, 3 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts, possibly his best start of the year. Every now and then, good Mike Burrows pops his head up. And the Twins are targetable enough for that. We're also dealing with the Twins with no Byron Buxton now that I'm looking at the lineup, which is a plus. That works in Mike Burrows' favor. So we're mostly talking about it over here. If you're looking to get real desperate on the mound at 7,200 on FanDuel, the fact that he's given us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 starts in which he's completed the 6th inning out of his 15, despite not necessarily pitching well or booking a quality start in all of them. A couple of them he didn't. The depth is there. The depth is not terrible. So for the cheap FanDuel price, would I rather go to Mike Burrows against the Twins than Jody Perez for more at Coors Field? Griffin Jackson, a limited 5 innings probably against Kansas City with less shot at a quality start, or at best equal shot. JP Sears in that environment against the Cubs, so on and so forth. Maybe Cavalli would be my argument at 81, but there's no guarantees there. There's no additional real upside there. So if I'm not getting up here, kind of there. I'd rather have him, I think, than Martin Perez for 1,300 more. Sprut is maybe an argument, but even he's 500 more. projected lower. It's not great. No promises. But I think even on FanDuel, Burrows is at least in the conversation at that price. Joe Ryan, a much bigger part of the conversation, 10-6, one of the top projected pitchers on the slate. Not quite at the top of the board compared to the big three, but next best, 9,700 on DraftKings totally works. 28.5% strikeout against 5% walk. Tremendous. 23.48 strikeout minus walk rate. So pitching way over the line as far as ace quality, 3.18 ERA, 3.39 xFIP, 3.14 SIERA. The one thing he runs into is a little bit of premium contact. A little bit lucky to be at that 2.37% home runs. Every now and then, if you guys happen to get base hits, because he doesn't really walk that many, and just, two guys on base, and somebody delivers on that, all those fly balls, all those barrels, all those hard hits, maybe you get a bendy kind of a day. But Ryan has proven time and again that he's able to pitch through that. We know that there are aces out there who consistently do that. They'll occasionally get burned for the solo shot, but then go out and give up that one earned run while pitching 7 innings of 10 strikeout ball. So Joe Ryan, tremendous by any measure. Like him at price on either site, but more impacted by the FanDuel price relative to the top of the board. And the Astros are good. They're not a high strikeout team, 20.8% for this collective group. Several very low strikeout options in the lineup. You do have a little offset there with some of those small sample guys down toward the bottom. But some of their very best hitters, Jordan Alvarez in particular, 17.3% strikeout. Isaac Paredes at 15.8. Christian Walker's up to 22%. We liked it a lot and talked about it a lot earlier in the year when he was down in the 17, 19 range. And then it started going up and up a little bit as some of the other numbers cascaded downward somewhat. Needs to keep it right about where he is to continue having a decent year. He's hit 19 home runs, but the walks are down now. He's at an 8.2% walk. As the strikeout rate goes up, the walks have come down to 307 on base. 302 actual was a little concerning under that 335 actual. 9.8% barrel is not quite where we need it. We need that to be in double digits. Same with that hard hit rate. A few more points would be beneficial. He was having a nice return to form. We need to keep it going, though. We're only halfway through the season. 3,700 is still nice and cheap for the upside. 33 on FanDuel right now, given this form, is about the limitations of what I want to pay for Christian Walker against a very, very good pitcher. But 10.01 in the home run model, that is one of the guys who's more likely to exploit the fly balls, exploit the potential for a barrel against Joe Ryan. Jose Altuve in the leadoff spot at 36, 3,000. Mixer at second base at worst. We've seen Altuve succeed year after year on similar kinds of numbers as what he's putting up right now. So far this year, 236, 306, 384 is obviously not impressing. 305 weighted on base with a 293 XWOB, but doesn't give us anything to really hope for. But the occasional upside day has still been intact. 8 home runs on the board in 269 chances is not terrible for a player like this, and he's never popular anymore. Paredes in his home park, plenty of upside for that left field home run, 11 on the board so far this year. But he's also interesting in other ways. Gets on base at a 349 clip, helps create runs. Cam Smith and Taylor Trammell have both been finding the barrel pretty consistently this season in mixed samples. Cam Smith's turned it into 11 home runs, not nearly enough on base over basically a full 320 plate appearances. Taylor Trammell, 101 pretty interesting plate appearances, honestly. 340 on base, 3 home runs. There's a lot of success there. 121 WRC plus. It's just xWOBA doesn't really like it at 310, reflecting a little bit of the inconsistency with that 39.7% hard hit rate. Way too many strikeouts, not enough walk. So there are plenty of holes in Taylor Trammell's game in any larger sample, but any given slate, there's upside there at those prices in the outfield. Jainer Diaz is a premium catcher option, even though he doesn't necessarily look like it in his 142 plate appearances. Low end slash line, 3 home runs. The output is all over the place. It was last year as well. But when he's going right, that's a low strikeout, heavy balls in play option. And he's doing that right now. So there's plenty of any given slate success in play with Jainer Diaz at price 3,000, 2,600 where you need catchers. That's a priority if you're going Astros. Nick Allen, Reynel Delgado, mix and matchy on the back end right now. Speed was his upside. 3 home runs, 24 stolen bases, and 253 chances in the minors. Lackluster slash line. 474 chances last year in AAA. All AAA. No, wait. 474, all AAA last year in Milwaukee's system. 5 home runs, 40 stolen bases, decent slash line, 104 WRC plus, but a 287 xWOBA under a 342 actual. Might be one of those guys, given those stolen base totals, my money would be on that he's got enough speed to continue to defy xWOBA, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be high quality for DFS or a guy we necessarily want to get. Looking at the Twins side, which I basically skipped over after announcing that Buxton wasn't in the lineup. Trevor Larnach having an interesting year. 377 on bases made him very valuable. A lot of walks, limiting strikeout, not driving the ball as effectively or as consistently as he used to. 5 home runs, but a lot of run creation there. A 332 xWOBA is, decent against that outstanding 359 actual. Very playable piece for the price in the outfield. Brooks Lee, mix and match piece at third base, 36, 31 second and third base eligible on FanDuel, has hit 14 home runs, but that's a little bit of an outlier for what his skill set actually is. He's more of a contact-oriented hitter, put a lot of balls in play, low strikeout, low walk rate, and beat him to first base. 306 on base so far, 279 xWOBA. Not a great option. Hitting second, I would have put Cody Clemens in that spot. Clemens, 4,400, 3,100, 13 home runs, probably their best bat in this version of the lineup. Josh Bell drives a lot of players in. That's more opportunistic than anything else. 53 ribbies. He's just in the right spot at the right time, but that could continue today. Hitting cleanup, 3,100, 3,000. Nothing wrong with that option if you're going Twins. 9.19 in the home run model also shows a little bit. You've got a nice little pocket of power, even with no Buxton. It just looked better with Buxton's 15 or whatever it was in there. Royce Lewis is cheap for a guy with a 12.1% barrel rate, 8 home runs and 209 plate appearances. Not exactly finding it consistently, but plenty of upside any given slate. 9.59 in the home run model against, again, Mike Burrows, who has given up a lot of home runs and a lot of fly balls, despite not being bad for exit velo. Just those mistakes get into the seats, and he could easily make a couple of mistakes against these hitters. Victor Caratini at 5.60 is your sleeper for the home run power. 7 home runs, nice cheap option at 3,400 at catcher if you're going to the Twins, and a guy to keep in mind at catcher as a one-off if you're not, because he puts good wood on the ball, always low owned, very cheap price. 7 home runs and 235 chances is not great, but he's also getting on base consistently this year in his opportunities. Low strikeout, high walk rate. He's always been low strikeout. You get a lot of high quality bat on ball. Ryan Kreidler, Tristan Gray, Austin Martin, all mixers down toward the bottom of the lineup. Pretty good 108 plate appearances out of Ryan Kreidler so far. 361 on base, a 143 WRC plus. Needs to keep it up, but he's found the barrel a little bit. I'd expect that to come back down based on mixed sample numbers over the last couple of years and that 34.2% hard hit rate. But a little dart to throw at some success. Second base kind of works. Just another outfielder. Don't really want either of these guys at shortstop. Tristan Gray, no real impact so far this season. And same thing with Austin Martin, limited output. Joe Ryan. Twins bats, I think. 11th, 12th, and 15th by value, but 3rd by home runs. It's a complicated board. And the Astros don't measure up any better than that. You know what? Joe Ryan, Mike Burrows, because he's dirt cheap on both sites. Probably not going to work out. Twins bats, Astros bats. Twins bats definitely above the Astros bats going up against Burrows. Coors Field. Jody Pettis, 7,000, 8,000. So Jody missed about a month. Came back through 4 2/3 of 1-run ball, 3 hits, but only struck out 1, allowed a solo homer against the Rangers the other day. I think we're talking about 5 innings. It's not like he ran the pitch count up facing those 15 hitters. So it's Coors Field, 5.24 implied total against. I get that he's 7,000. He's a pitcher who can strike hitters out, and this is a great strikeout target. I think at best, he's like a bargain bin type consideration at 7,000, given what's probably a 5-inning cap. I'd be concerned there. And he's erratic. Puts guys on base. He's given up a little bit of premium contact this year as well. Some fly balls, some home runs in 13 starts. It's a lot of barrels on a significant fly ball trajectory. That could lead to some home run upside for Mickey Moniak, for Hunter Goodman. It could lead to just a Coors Field day. Not a lot to like there. Nothing at all to like about Tanner Gordon. Just don't play him. 6.37 ERA, 4.30 xFIP. I guess we could argue that the xFIP and the Sierra are nicely offset from that bad ERA. 22% strikeouts isn't bad. Look at me talking to myself and Tanner Gordon. A lot of premium contact on display here. Monster total on the other side. The Marlins are a mediocre team at best, I would say. But I don't think any of that is realistically putting Tanner Gordon on the board. 4 earned runs over 3 innings against San Francisco last time out. Had a good day against the Dodgers. 1 earned run on 6 hits at Los Angeles. Struck out 3 and walked 1 in that game. 6 1/3 against the Rangers in Coors Field. 2 home starts ago. 7 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, a walk, a home run allowed. Feels like more of that kind of a day. And then it was all short outings in bulk relief prior to that. I don't think so. Even at 6, even at 68, there's just other cheap options on the board. The Marlins bats at a 5.89 implied probably get pretty popular here at Coors Field. Let's see if we got this lineup in. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Check out a free weekly plan. Free first week on a weekly anyway. Get behind the paywall, access to projections, check out the premium content. Everything's under $1 a day anyway at Rotoscouts. But if you want to check it out on a weekly plan, first week of a weekly is 100% free with promo code TRYME. All one word, capital T, capital M. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen at some point. That's a free first week on a weekly, which will renew if not canceled at regular price, which is under $7 for the subsequent weeks. Hope you stay on board once you check it out and hopefully find some W's with it. We've had a lot of winners lately. Congrats to a few people over the weekend, by the way, who put winning screenshots in the Discord. Jump in the Discord if you get a chance. Join the community. It's totally free. Don't need to be a subscriber anywhere. So Marlins bats, Rockies bats. Couple expansion squads way back in the day. Same year. Had a Rockies t-shirt. Didn't have any Marlins gear, I don't think. From like the expansion year. Jacob Marcy at 4,700, 3,400. Lackluster slash line at 193, 313, 293. 18 stolen bases, 4 home runs. A couple few interesting DFS days, mostly here for speed. Needs to get on base significantly more than he is. 12.8% walk rate isn't a bad way to start, at least getting there. Hasn't found much success on balls in play at all. Doesn't particularly hit them hard. Bumpy option up toward the top, but a guy that Coors Field definitely helps given the size of the ballpark and everything. 53, 4,000 for Otto Lopez, 333, 366, 486. Another big surprise this year. I really wasn't expecting Otto to be this good in an ongoing sense. I still have my questions about how good he's going to continue to be, given a 336 xWOB under a 369 actual. A lot of room for a decline there, but that's still a pretty good player overall. 134 WRC plus, and making a strong argument that he's going to keep on doing what he's doing. 5,000 on Kyle Stower is not a bad price. 37 on FanDuel for a Coors Field day. Those aren't terrible. 8 home runs, a solid 228, 324, 20 slash line, or an up and down, I should say, slash line. 333 xWOB under the 324 actual shows a little bit of the quality, and really the premium contact is all we need to talk about with Stowers. Major source of power from the left side for this team. Xavier Edwards, another player geared for success in this ballpark just on the consistency of balls in play. He's found a little bit more power output. It came mostly in a stretch earlier in the season. 6 home runs in an awful hurry, and I don't think has hit one since, probably mid-May, maybe one since then. 4.8% barrel, 30% hard hit. The numbers are still well up overall for the season, but it's really because of that one good stretch and then some extra base hits along the way. That is a very good player for getting on base, creating havoc out there, creating runs, stealing bases, and providing bonus scoring, though. Heriberto Hernandez is really interesting, especially, again, given the Coors Field of it. 10.14 in the home run model, but the ability to drive the ball, put one in the gap in this monster ballpark is in play. 8 home runs on the board, 5 stolen bases. The kid's got talent. 345 xWOB under the 306 actual in the small sample. Hits the ball very, very hard. Griff Conine has hit the ball very hard in a small sample of plate appearances this year and did so last year as well. 14.8% barrel, 48.1% hard hit, over 86 plate appearances. Not a bad slash line, pair of home runs in a small sample last year. He's already hit 3 in 50 chances this year. Maybe we give him more of a shot. That's demonstrably good ability to put bat on ball. He just strikes out a lot. 30% so far this year, 29-1 last year, 31-5 the year before. But there's at least a playable piece there for DFS. Owen Casey hits the ball squarely, 15% barrel, 46.7% hard hit. It's resulted in 9 home runs and a pretty low-end slash line overall, just a 97 WRC plus. But just rolling the dice on cheap options at Coors definitely can pay off. 8.63 in the home run model. Joe Mack has demonstrated pretty decent ability to find the barrel as a cheap catcher. 9.04 for him. He's hit 4 home runs in 141 chances already. And then Graham Pauley, we talked about him the other day. Some quality numbers in the minor leagues. You can pick and choose a few decent stretches where he provided a little bit of upside for DFS type scoring. Nice and cheap with second base eligibility on FanDuel. 3,100 at third base kind of works on DK. Again, Coors Field, rising tide effect. On the Rockies side, Jake McCarthy, ultimately just another outfielder, dramatically overperforming his talent, over 250 plate appearances, over which he's really not made that great contact. 362 weighted on base is very good, but a 311 xWOBA is the more correct number and is really not very good. Mickey Moniak and Hunter Goodman, though, are very good options. Both guys have major power. One from the left, Mickey Moniak at 51.39, fairly priced. 12 home runs in 183 chances, 10 plus in the model today. And then Goodman at 62.41, one of the most expensive catchers on any given slate. 26 home runs, though, doing a Cal Raleigh impression this year, 11.40 on the home run model. He's been absolutely fantastic, one of the best options in this entire game. TJ Rumfield, Willie Castro, Troy Johnston, mix and match pieces all. Two of those guys, lefty bats, first base and outfield eligible for 48, 5,000. Solid batting averages, good on base numbers, more correlated scores than anything else. But Rumfield has hit you 12 home runs. It's just they've come on contact that wouldn't really suggest that he's hit 12 home runs. So probably a little bit more happenstance in that number. He should probably be more in like this 6 type range. Castro's been good, ultimately just a utility man, but a good one, an effective guy who's done, stretches like that in the past. So nothing surprising here. Coors Field definitely helps. Good spot in the lineup. That's a reliable piece. I like Willie Castro maybe a little bit better than either Rumfield or Johnston. Also get the switch hitter in there. Just kind of helps. Cole Carrig, though, on DraftKings at 3,900 is probably more interesting than all three of those guys. Carrick's skill set is having mid-grade type power and stealing a lot of bases. So far, 3 home runs, 2 steals, and 73 chances in the show. Getting on at a 375 clip, 365 xWOB under his 379 actual in the small sample. He's been tremendous, and DK hasn't budged on that cheap price since his call-up. Switch hitter, FanDuel has him at 4,200. He is the most expensive player on the Rockies. He's like the 4th most expensive player on the entire slate. It's almost inexplicable how they reacted to Cole Carrig having a good, not crazy 73 plate appearances. Wild pricing decisions going on at FanDuel this year. The dude with 26 home runs is 100 cheaper. I don't get it. Take advantage. Or don't take advantage over here. Take advantage over here. Ezekiel Tovar at 47,300 doesn't really earn those price tags anymore. You're just remembering when he hit a bunch of home runs. There's a lot of swing and miss in his game, and he's not driving the ball effectively this year. That's a less than good option at shortstop, and the price is a little bit high. But again, Coors Field can help. Edward Julian is an ongoing discussion point on this show. 336 on base, 345 xWOBA, tons of walks, the ability to drive the ball. Has demonstrated throughout this season so far to no success, and in previous seasons for mixed success. But that's always been the name of his game. That is a good hitter in there. 41.29 at second base. Totally works. Don't sleep on Edward Julian, especially if he claws his way up to the top of the lineup, where we've seen him a few times throughout the season. That gets even more interesting. Marlins bats, Rockies bats, but probably a little bit closer than one might think. And then if you have to take a pitcher, it's Yodi Pettis for 5 innings on DK, but I don't really want either one. Angels and the Mariners. The Mariners showed a little bit of power upside yesterday and did not particularly come through, if memory serves, at least in the lineup that I had. Yeah, those aren't important. I had a bunch of pop-up notifications come through. I wanted to make sure it wasn't about this slate. They come back in today at a 4.06 implied total against Jose Soriano, who had that tremendous start to the year, but is now at a 3.41 ERA, a 3.77 xFIP, a 4.08 Sierra. So at the beginning of the year, we were talking about how he wasn't the best pitcher in baseball like he looked like, but was quite good. Now he's not quite as bad as maybe he looks like. Not that those numbers are bad, but he's a little bit better than this. The 12% walk, he is an aggressive pitcher, and he does walk too many typically, but he keeps the ball down very effectively. He's good at limiting contact, inducing weak and medium contact, limiting home run output. He's given up a few on the season, but he's finding a 13.7% swinging strike rate that suggests more strikeouts are in play on any given slate. We saw that earlier in the year. We know what the upside looks like. This is a super friendly pitcher's park. Everything about this situation works in his favor. So 95, 99. If he falls off a little bit by comparison to the top end of the board as far as ownership goes, that's a spot I think you can attack pretty aggressively because he is very, very good. Again, not quite as good as he was at the beginning of the year, but not as bad as he's been over this last stretch of more limited action. He's only completed the 6th once since May 21st. 5 innings in exactly in 2 of the last 3, and then just 3 innings against Baltimore, gave up 5 earned runs, struck out 4, walked 2 home runs allowed, and was out of the game last time out. But is usually very good for depth. Strikeouts come and go, but depth and keeping the ball in the yard is the name of his game and always has been. Brian Wu, tremendous option, particularly at home this year. 4.26 ERA, 3.75 xFIP, 3.57 SIERA, 24.6% strikeout against a 4.8% walk. He was even better last year. Slightly more strikeouts, slightly more swinging strikes. Didn't have issues on the road last year like he has in odd situations throughout this year that have bent those numbers a little bit in the run scoring department. 2.94 ERA, 3.33 xFIP, 3.30 SIERA was just fantastic over those 30 starts. But the upside is, that guy. And he's pretty cheap for that guy. He's projected 1.5 points below Cam Schlittler and Tarek Skubal. 3.03 opposing implied total is the lowest on the entire slate. Pitching in the best pitcher's park in baseball against a team with plenty of strikeout at 24.1% in this lineup. No Mike Trout on an ongoing basis in this lineup. Major upside for Brian Wu here. If you're going to the Angels against, it seems a little bit misguided. Zach Neto and Jorge Soler would be absolute priorities for the power upside that's on display. So would Joe Adell at 9.65, although his output has been kind of limited this year. 249, 293, 398 for Adell, just a 90 WRC plus. At least does have that slightly above average xWOBA underneath that tragically bad actual. 11 home runs is off pace over 358 plate appearances for a guy who can mash. And the barrels are way down. The hard hit consistency is down. Strikeouts are down as well, but so are walks, and that's not really helping him find any success. So maybe he needs to start swinging for the fences again and say whatever for the strikeouts, take the home run upside back. But any given slate, the upside's still there, the potential, and he's gotten awfully cheap. So if you're going to the Angels, you've got 1, 2, 3 decisions basically made for you, in my opinion. I think those 3 guys are essentially mandatory. 2 of them are nice and cheap. And Neto at 49 is definitely several $100 cheaper than what his apex looks like. It's just he's really struggled outside of the 18 home runs, the 11 steals. 226, 323, 456. A 115 WRC plus is good, but not great. And a 314 xWOB is concerning under the 340 actual. Zach Neto is better than that full slash line. He's better than that strikeout rate. So the price down a little bit. Believable few $100 discount. That's a 4,033 average, a 12,100 total for the 3-man. You could mix in Denzer Guzman, who's found some success, has decent prospect pedigree, 3 home runs in 77 plate appearances, fills third base for a reasonable price. I don't mind that option. Oops, come on. And then looking down lineup for my last man, I think if I'm on DraftKings, I'm probably just picking off Logan O'Hoppe. Hope for the one good batted ball event from the next best home run mark on the team. 6.85 in the model this year, in this matchup. 4 home runs on the board in 201 plate appearances, but at least carrying a double-digit barrel rate that most of the other guys aren't giving you. Fills out your catcher spot for only 26. Brings us to a $3,600 average on the nose. That's across 5 guys, 18,000 total. It's not a bad spend, but you're getting to, the 5 best players on the worst option on the slate, potentially, given that run total, given how they measure up against Wu, given the fact that Wu, despite allowing a lot of fly balls and reasonable amount of hard hits and some exit velo, hasn't really been bad for home run power and was quite a bit better at some of those things last year. So really, even though they're cheap, not a great target. On FanDuel, it's probably even worse because you don't get really all the upside out of Logan O'Hoppe positionally that you would on DraftKings. Some of these guys are significantly more expensive. but it would be the same basic targets on the FanDuel slate if you're looking to roster that team. The Mariners are the more interesting offense, but I'm a bigger believer in Jose Soriano's upside here, so this one's all about pitching for me. If I'm going to the Mariners, J.P. Crawford, an interesting option as a table setter, 334 on base. It's been quite a bit higher than that on base-wise in years past. Hitting for a little bit of power this year, 10 home runs on the board. Succeeds a lot via the walk rate. And the occasional ball in play, doesn't strike out all that much, doesn't hit the ball particularly hard, but that's a reasonable piece. Third base eligible at 3,400 on DK, still a shortstop on FanDuel for only 29. Not a bad way to spend money to start a Mariner stack, especially when Julio comes in at 47.32. He's nice and cheap for the upside. 14 homers, 12 stolen bases, still doesn't seem fully engaged in the year at the halfway point. Really needs to turn the engine over in the second half. We've seen him do it time and again, but it usually starts a little earlier than this. Not that he's been completely terrible. 112 WRC plus, still a good 350 xWOBA. Josh Naylor struggling his way through the year, 8 home runs, 15 steals, off pace in both categories, 254, 317, 367. Not completely terrible out there, but very average across this half a season. Really needs to pick it up for this team to do anything in the second half. That's a key left-handed bat for this team. Randy Arozarena has just been good all year. 5,000, still reasonable on DK. 37 is more than I've been coming up with for Randy Arozarena's spot in this 4-man stack on FanDuel, just because Cal Raleigh's only 28. I don't dislike Colt Emerson at 3,000. You don't have the lefties with Dom Canzone and Luke Raley today to work with. Those two guys usually make it into more shares than Randy Arozarena, given the massive $1,000 price difference between the three. But with this lineup, I would say maybe a little bit more Arozarena on either site than I've been getting lately, but it would still probably get sacrificed to shares of Cal Raleigh, particularly on DraftKings at just 45. Guy hit 60-something home runs last year. He's only got 8 and a terrible slash line in 235. Just hasn't been himself this year, but the any given slate upside remains immense. It's just difficult to homer against Jose Soriano. Cole Young, solid mixer in the infield. Victor Robles, a decent upside piece in the outfield for counting stats. 6 stolen bases, but not getting on base enough over the 72 plate appearances. In the mix for a base hit, a stolen base, and a run scored, but that's about it. Weston Wilson, mixer. And then, as mentioned, Colt Emerson, a lot of upside in that bat. 7 home runs in just 128 plate appearances. No consistency at all. Right at the Mendoza line, sub 300 on base isn't good. xWOBA is only 244 against a 315 actual, showing the lack of consistency. Probably needs to do a little bit more growing, but they're going to just let him figure it out in the show, and is at least delivering the power, delivering 3 of the 4 counting stats. So not a bad piece. I like him better where he fills third base at 3,000 on FanDuel, though. Brian Wu, Jose Soriano, Mariners bats, Angels bats bringing up the bottom. 2 to go. For anybody who's still out there, I haven't pulled up chat in a minute. Bunch of people still here hanging out. Otto's out tonight. Vladdy scratched. Otto's out. 6 o'clock. We'll get this all updated in the next little bit on the website. A lot of updating, a lot of copy pasting for me to do after the show. You guys, make sure that you hit the like button now. Subscribe to the channel if you're feeling it. Hit the notification bell if you want to. But more importantly, after the show, come on back. Leave a comment on the show with your home run pick. Enter the contest. 1st to 5 wins. It's an ongoing contest. You win a free month of Rotoscouts. Also, use promo code TRYME. All one word, capital T, capital M. 100% free first week on a weekly plan. 0 commitment required. Cancel anytime. If you cancel before it renews after a week, you will not be charged anything ever. And that includes all of our content for MLB under other circumstances where NBA, NHL, and NFL were ongoing. It would include that as well. Always under $1 a day at Rotoscouts. Rotoscouts.com, Rotoscouts.com, Rotoscouts.com. Diamondbacks 4.57 implied total going up against Landon Roop. Roop hasn't been bad. 4.07 ERA, a nice tidy 3.39 xFIP, 3.68 Sierra, 26.2% strikeout. I continue to think this is a good young pitcher who's got a lot of room to grow. Another pitcher on this Giant staff that I would say, has Logan Webb-ish kind of attributes, given the strikeouts, given the ability to keep the ball down and keep the ball in the yard. 9.2 degree average launch, 3.5% barrel. Look at all the weak and medium contact, 29.1% hard hit, 86.7 miles an hour of exit velo. If nothing else, look at what Look at what Landon Roop. The names are even similar. Logan, Landon, Roop, Webb. Those aren't dissimilar names. You flip Roop upside down, it looks like Webb, kind of. Maybe not the first letter. But look at the impact he's having on the Diamondbacks. Nobody above even halfway to the magic number for home run upside. 4.85, for Ketel Marte, 4.15 on Corbin Carroll, and after that, nobody even at 4. That in and of itself has an effect here on run scoring potential. This isn't the best home run hitting team in the world anyway. They rely a lot on sequencing. And look who they've got in the lineup today as far as that sequencing goes through the back end here. Lourdes Gurriel, who's getting on at a 271 clip over 144 plate appearances this year. Max Kepler, who's 0 for 9 coming back from a steroid suspension. That's a major source of left-handed power over the years, but he's not exactly consistent as far as on base and sequencing goes. Nolan Arenado, this version, 318 on base. No, thank you. Pavin Smith is better at getting on base than this 261 would tell you. Last year, 362, over 288 chances, 348, and 158 chances the year before that. But ultimately, we're at the point where we've got to call Pavin Smith what he is, which is a quad A player. He's 29 going on like 38 at this point. Mix and match piece. Jorge Barrosa, over 120, getting on a 250 clip. It's really just these guys who have been succeeding for on base. Ketel Marte, good as he is, only getting on at a 319 clip, but he's at least hit 16 home runs out of the leadoff role and has more ability than anything he's shown us this year, as we saw all throughout last year, as we see in his premium contact numbers. It's a major piece at second base, and if you're going to this team, that's a great way to get started at 48.34 price-wise. Definitely in play given the total against the pitcher, but you're looking to succeed via some base hits, some on base, some correlated scoring. Geraldo Perdomo would be absolutely crucial to that equation. 359 on base for the year, creating runs at a 106 clip, a little bit better ex-WOBA than his actual, but he's not hitting the home runs he was last year. He's not providing you the big DFS scoring days that he was. He's been almost entirely relying on help from his friends. So needs Corbin Carroll, needs Gabby Moreno to have big days behind him. Either one of those guys is entirely capable. Both guys drive the ball effectively. 13 home runs, 9 steals for Corbin Carroll, 362 on base, 6 homers, 4 steals for Moreno in fewer chances, a 359 on base. Those guys are absolutely key to any kind of success with the Diamondbacks here. Where I think they get kind of interesting is, again, given that healthy total and a team that's not necessarily going to pop to the top of the board given all those big-time upside spots, that's not a bad four-man price. $44.50 a piece, 17.8 total for the four-man, and then I can click in, say, Maxi Kepler at just 25 into my outfield there. Puts me at 4,060, 20,300 a piece. You could do any one of those guys, and there's any given slate success in the cards for Gurriel, Kepler, Arenado, and Smith in some order. Arenado's still broken for sure, but we've seen a few successful days, 9 home runs on the board. Smith, again, gets on base historically a little bit more reliably than we've seen this year, so some correlated scoring could come from him. Kepler's the one I'd be most interested in there, I think, though. Has hit the ball squarely, despite the lack of success in those 9 opportunities, and a lot of home runs in his pocket throughout his career, just, again, coming off a steroid suspension. On the Giants side, going up against Brandon Pfaadt in his return to the majors, he's really scuffled in the show this season. Couple of starts, couple of bulk relief appearances. In the minors, over 3 starts, 10 innings, had a 1.80 ERA, but a 5.05 xFIP. Barely struck anybody out, 18% strikeout rate. Just not a lot here with Brandon Pfaadt at this point. Last year, 172 and 2/3 in 32 starts, worked to a 5.0 ERA, but a 4.03 xFIP, 4.15 Sierra. Fair amount of premium contact and power. It's all medium trajectory, but over the line in all 3 of these categories. Probably should have been 4+% home runs and made him even worse than he was. We've had good stretches in each of those previous seasons with Brandon Pfaadt, but I wouldn't expect much here. 6,300, 6,100. I think it makes sense to at least consider some Giants bats. Healthy 4.52 implied total for them. Luis Ariz and Jung-Hoo Lee in the 1 and the 3 spots in this projected lineup. Both those guys hitting for a ton of average right now, succeeding on a lot of balls in play. They're both very limiting as far as strikeout potential for the opposing pitcher, and Pfaadt's not striking anybody out anyway. So those guys are going to be on base, or at least going to have the opportunity to get on base 2 or 3 times a piece. Casey Schmidt has been low strikeout, low walk, so a lot of balls in play out of him, and he's finding success with batting average this year as well. Lot of potential to just put opportunity after opportunity in play atop this Giants lineup. And if one or two of those guys is getting on base and setting the table for Rafi Devers, for Bryce Eldridge, for Matt Chapman, and all the power that those guys bring to bear, that creates potential. Devers, double-digit barrels, 51.4% hard hits. Still looks like Rafi Devers from that perspective. 14 home runs in 355 chances is at least coming around, despite some lackluster slash line overall. 106 WRC plus is above average. Eldridge has been tremendous since being promoted. 6 home runs in 167 chances, remains cheap. The first base positional conflict between those two continues to absolutely suck on DraftKings because there's not many options on this team. Matty Chapman at 34.29 is cheap for his quality. 7 home runs, 327 on base, kind of normalized that. Still struggling for weighted on base, still struggling at 99 WRC plus, and not finding the premium contact we're used to. But there's still a player in there if you're going to this team anyway, and not much of a pitcher on the mound. Drew Gilbert, more a mix and match guy. Same deal with Drew Cavanaugh down the bottom of the lineup at catcher, just a cheap price. But Elliot Ramos is kind of interesting at 3,600 mixed in down the bottom. 5 home runs and 184 chances, over which he wasn't terrible as far as the slash goes. Nice 332 xWOBA under the 322 actual, a 106 WRC plus, 13.6% barrel and 49.6% hard hit are near star making. There's a lot of potential any given slate in Elliot Ramos, especially at the nice cheap prices against a pitcher like this. So I'm really interested there if I'm going to the Giants. On DK, you got a Sophie's choice between those two, which really blows. And you can go like 1, 2, 3. Take the cheaper piece into Ramos like that. And you're looking at 37 exactly a piece. 18.5 total for the 5-man. It's, negligible price difference if you go Devers. Strong argument to be made for the $300 discount to Bryce Eldridge there, though. At worst, it's a back and forth, very realistically. Giants bats. Landon Roop, especially on DK at that 82. Diamondbacks bats, and then Brandon Pfaadt way at the bottom. Closing things out with another spot for potential fireworks, like the Athletics at a 4.91 implied total against Wrobleski. 8,010-1. That FanDuel price is absolutely absurd. He's pitched to a 2.71 ERA, but he has a 4.5 xFIP, 4.6 SIERA. He strikes out 15% of opposing hitters. What are we doing? Why is he 10-1? That's crazy in this ballpark against home run hitters like this. That's nuts. Giving up 44.3% hard hits on a 14.7 degree average launch, 90.5 miles an hour of exit velo. Cue the home run upside for the A's. Shea Langoliers coming in at 9.23, probably ought to be higher in the home run model. Same thing with Kurtz at 10.29. They've each hit 19 home runs and been absolutely fantastic all year. And everybody else in this A's lineup is cheap. Big time discount on the A's. Henry Bolte at 35,300, 2 home runs, 11 steals, a 379 on base over 162 plate appearances. That's just this kid fulfilling his potential. That's exactly what he's supposed to be. 116 WRC plus. The speed helps him defy xWOBA, 309X under a 343 actual. Probably continues somewhere in that kind of territory. He is just pretty damn good and a good way to find some correlated scoring ahead of Langoliers and Kurtz. Jonah Heim, 31.28, solid mixer at the catcher spot for nice cheap price. He's been able to deliver okay home run totals in mixed samples in years past. Low strikeout, a lot of balls in play. Not particularly well struck, but finds the occasional upside. Switch hitter to throw at Wrobleski here. Joey Meneses from the right side. 2,100, 2,500. You want to talk about wild card options. That is a very cheap price. Didn't play in the show last year. Going back in time, 313 terrible plate appearances in 2024, where he hit 231, 291, 302 with 3 home runs and a 68 WRC plus. Year before that, solid season, 13 home runs with a 275, 321, 401 slash line, but just the 96 WRC plus. There's one other good year of success in there, isn't there? Am I making that up? It was this. That's what I was thinking of. 240 plate appearances in 2022, hit 13 home runs, slash 324, 367, 563 with a 156 WRC plus. And while he was hitting for average, getting on base at an okay clip, and playing reasonably well here, and driving in a lot of runs in these 657 plate appearances in 2023. What we were talking about fairly consistently that year was, could he find a return to that kind of a home run pace where he hit the same number of home runs in, a third as many plate appearances? The answer so far has been no, a definitive no. But it is in the mix at a very cheap price, and he hasn't had that many bites at the apple over the last year and a half, 2 years. So hitting fifth, 2,100, 2,500 in this ballpark against that lefty, I'll take my chances if I'm going A's. Colby Thomas has power upside for sure. 10.9% barrel this year, 12% in a small sample last year. 3 home runs in 82 plate appearances that have been otherwise kind of low end, but that's a player. There's upside there. This Max Muncy, this is showdown of Max Muncy's, by the way. This Max Muncy at 33.29. The stats, I forgot to change on the stats board, but don't worry about it. He's just okay. The Dodgers Max Muncy is much better. Alika Williams and Joshua Kuroda-Grauer, who is available only on DraftKings at the mid price, round out the lineup. Kuroda-Grauer looks like he went 3 for 4 in his debut yesterday. Taking a shot in the middle infield for a cheap price. It's about all I know off the top of my head about Kuroda-Grauer. Pretty limited prospect profile. This is one of those middle infielders who can come up with a little pedigree for being a slap hitter through the minors that probably doesn't translate all that well in the show and is a better fielder than anything else. And that's where he gets any kind of prospect rating from. So not much of a bat down the bottom of the lineup, despite the 3-for-4 day in his debut. Alika Williams, just a mix and match guy. On the Dodgers side there, the major talking point, you can see the absurd numbers for power that they're pulling against Jeffrey Springs here, who's pitched to a 9.6% barrel, a 5.80% home run rate, plenty of power on display, plenty of contact available, doesn't really strike anybody out. Hasn't had much of an issue with walks, but a 5.52 ERA, 4.50 xFIP, 4.37 Sierra. Teams are able to exploit the downside coming through the power, find their base hits, and just crush this pitcher throughout the season. No reason to think the Dodgers would be at all limited in doing so today. 66-42 for Shohei Ohtani. Not much to stop him at the top of the lineup. 18 homers on the season. Looking pretty likely given the 23.25 to find one today. Andy Pajas at 53-35. Solid mixer. 16 home runs, 8 stolen bases, 122 WRC plus. Excellent option. 8.8% barrel, 45.4% hard hit. Something to keep an eye on there as far as just what the ongoing pace of home runs, pace of extra base hit output looks like. But at worst, that's a low strikeout, decent average, good option from atop the lineup. Arguably not a 2-hitter, though. Freddie Freeman, 56-35. That's a good 2-hitter. 290, 379, 490, 13 home runs on the board for the lefty veteran. We know Freddie Freeman pretty well by now. Mookie Betts' price slowly climbing, 4,800, 3,200 at short, 11 home runs in just 218 chances for Mookie. Barrels are up somewhat, hard hits are up somewhat, strikeouts slightly up at its 12.8%. Who cares? Walks slightly down, 7.3%. We're really just looking for those well-struck balls in play. Mookie's carrying a 10.76 in the home run model. Teoscar Hernandez back in the lineup, 12.50, as mentioned 2 hours ago at the beginning of the show. I was going to pick Teoscar as the home run pick of the day before I got sidetracked and picked Chaparro from the Nationals. Teoscar, major source of power, 7 home runs in just 209 plate appearances this year. Pretty solid slash line for those appearances, 119 WRC plus. Has barreled the ball consistently, hit it very, very hard consistently over the last few years. He's awfully cheap. 4,300, 3,200 in the outfield. Kyle Tucker at 49.32 hasn't earned those salaries or the one the Dodgers are giving him, but you continue going to the big lefty and just hope for the best. Max Muncy gives you plenty of left-handed power and actually delivering it. 17 home runs at 361 on base. Tremendous 3 true outcomes hitter. Miguel Rojas, Chucky Robinson, mixers down toward the bottom of the lineup. Rojas found some success for average and on base skills. 100 WRC plus, just right at league average overall, but a piece for reasonable expectation of some correlated scoring from time to time. And that is the Dodgers lineup. This is Dodgers only slightly ahead of the A's, despite the 1.5 extra on their total. If you had to take a pitcher, Roblisky over Jeffrey Springs, but you don't really want either one of these guys, I don't think. And that'll round us out, gang. 6:17. Let me punch out of here and get these projections updated so they're actually usable. There's your pitching board one last time. A lot of good options up toward the top. Very, very healthy middle through like there. And only a couple upside pieces out of the bargain bin. Again, scares me to say, but I think that's a playable piece. especially over here at that 72. If you're looking to get really, really cheap on the mound on FanDuel and load up on bats, kind of like it better than some of the other spots, but you're probably better off if you can afford the mid-range, like Landon Roop, let's say, even in a bad situation at 89, or maybe Griffin Jacks for 5 innings at 84 gets you there on strikeout. It's kind of limited for the quality start. Anyway, we talked about all of that. Rewind and play it at 5 times speed to get through it if you can. Good luck out there tonight, gang. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at Rotoscouts on Twitter or in the premium Discord. Let me go get a glass of water, and then I'll update the projections. A lot of talking today. See you guys tomorrow for, I think, a smaller slate, but we'll see what it looks like. Later, gang.